we should be live. We should be live. Let me triple double check the audio. Check. All right, cool. Audio looks good. Let's launch the Zoom so we can get started. So today we're going to have Crispy Akiyama on with me and his business partner. And we're going to talk about building social status. How do you need to get placements to get social status in this industry? Do you need to work with artists to get social status? Do you need to be in studios and networking in person to gain social status? What is social status? Why is it important? We're going to go through the step by step. So give me a second. My screen is super dark. So let me make my screen a little bit brighter here. Trying to figure out why it's so dark. It's on 100 and it's not. Okay, so hopefully my eyes don't blow out looking at this screen. All right, let's get this thing rocking. Just let me know if I'm too dark. Maybe I'll turn this thing up a little bit. That's like too bright. Now it's too bright. I feel like here it's fine. All right, let's get this thing rocking. Hold on, I got to invite the good guys in here. And we're going to get this conversation rock-a-locking. Mic check a 1, 2.
All right. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, you got the big screen. Crispy Akiyama himself. What's going on, man?
What's going on, brother? What's going on?
The
Turn this up real fast.
the Gumbo Groove Gangsta. I'm just playing. Oh, you got your business partner
What's
with you
going
too?
on? Yeah, this is
Yo, yo,
Alexander Malik. He's
Allie.
the other half of Gumbo Groove.
Oh,
yo, yo, yo. Can you guys hear me?
oh, I hear you
Yeah.
loudly and clearly.
Loud and clear? All right.
Good man. Wow. So y'all, okay, so it's a team in Gumbo Groove.
Yeah. And we'll kind of talk about it on the stream too, but with
Okay.
Gumbo Groove, it started off with just me, but Alex and I had actually lived together when I was in Phoenix, because he stays in Phoenix. And we would just cook up beats. And between him and actually my other friend Max, who's in the Bay Area, he would just say things like, "What are you doing with Gumbo Groove? Like, it's way bigger than just like you. It's a dope idea. Like, have you thought about expanding it?" And so that's just kind of where it took place. And I mean, we've been rocking. I don't know. I've known Alex for like 8 years at this point, so I've known him for a long time.
Awesome. Okay, so tag team. So it explains all that. So I'm glad you guys made this book coming out, or is it out already?
Yeah, we just released it
Oh
like
yeah.
last night.
Oh yeah. Cause I
So this is our welcoming into the world.
there it is. Cause I titled this live stream. It had to have a little ring to it. So music producer, social status mastery, something like that. I figured it would
That's perfect.
That's
tie into
dope.
the theme of you guys' experience. Because before you guys, and I want to hear all your thoughts, is just working with other people is, I don't think people understand how difficult that is. Like to truly be cohesive and work with somebody else for a long amount of time that you trust. It actually takes a lot of energy and a lot of tactics. But I'm curious to hear the foundation of the book, and then we could kind of build off of that.
Yeah. Um, the foundation of the book, really, a lot of it, what it is how Gumbo Groove even came to be is when I first moved to Vegas, whenever this was like 2017, 2018. I had just started making beats. In all honesty, I was still trash, But
Hmm.
I moved out there and I started interning at a studio, and I just wanted to be accepted, keep it a buck. I was in a new big city and I working in a studio. I want to be with other people. I want to collab, you know what I'm saying? Like I want to get in the mix. And I would show people my music and they just weren't really feeling it. Rightfully so, because I was still kind of still kind of trash. But really, what that forced me to do was hone in and really get my skill set up, and really get to a point where I became so good that they couldn't ignore me. That's my whole motto: become so good they can't ignore you. And then being in the studio, as I'm crafting that, I'm realizing, oh, okay, even if I am good, because I'm seeing other people who are good in the studio at the time, but they're just like socially awkward, or they know how to mess up a session before they can actually add value to the session. And even though I didn't know I wasn't even engineering at the time. Even though I did not know these things, I would get along with these artists more than their producers or even the engineer sitting in the chair would, just because I know. I was socially aware of, okay, they're thinking right now in the session. Let me not talk. Or I see they're about to finish drinking their water. I was an intern, so let me go grab them some water. Just making sure that I'm just aware of what's going on. And because of those small things, like I'd be in the studio session, I wasn't recording, wasn't making good beats, couldn't engineer, but I would take pictures of the artists and edit them and send them to them before their session ends so they had something to post. Like
That's
by
fine.
me adding value and made sure that I was always in the conversation, these people were always happy to see me when they came to the session. And when I would be out of town, they would always be like, "Yo, where's Crispy at? Like, I'm trying to get some photos," or like, "Man, he was telling me about this book," or and so just knowing how to add value is invaluable, especially
Right.
in a situation where you're in a studio where you know more than anybody else game that it's like high intensity, super ego driven. So being able to be fluid and add value to multiple to anyone, it goes a long way, and that's kind of where that's my experience with wanting to come up with the book. And Alex's is
Makes sense.
honestly very similar, just in a different town, honestly.
Oh yeah, and I would love to hear your experience because everything you said is true, and we can definitely go in depth about all the little microscopic things you said because it is bars. But yeah, I would love to hear and they're saying love from Japan, love from I guess Istanbul. I don't know. I don't know that
Oh,
flag or Iran or one of them.
Hey,
Israel. I don't know. Well, but shout out to because isn't your name partly? Uh,
yeah, so I'm a quarter Japanese. Yeah, that the Akiyama is actually my grandmother's maiden name. So that's where the Akiyama actually comes from. It's not just something I found on Google and was like, "Oh, that's cool." Like, so
yeah, you summoned up a fellow person from Japan just now. But yeah, I would love to hear. You know, do you go by? People call you Alexander the whole word, or you have a short way to say it?
oh yeah, you can call me Alexander or Alex. You know.
Okay, because when people, 'cause the reason I ask is because my name is Carlin, but when people cut it in half and they say Carl, oh, they said Pakistan as the flag. Okay, shout out to Pakistan. But yeah, when people say Carl, I'm like, nah, that's not my name. So I just wanted to make sure. So, but yeah, I'm
No
curious
worries.
to hear, how you influenced the perspectives in the book too.
Oh yeah, so pretty much I came up with this idea and it's funny, I came up with it through meditation. And me and Crispy have been talking about coming up with the book, constantly throughout our conversations and just providing value to other producers and artists. And the social musician, like I said, came up to me through meditation. And Crispy was the first person I thought of. I'm like, yo, this is something that me and you have similar stories, and we can provide, value to other producers. And my side of the story is I'm from Phoenix. I didn't necessarily my career wasn't really in the studio, but like most of my sessions happen like at like home studios, but the dynamic was still the same. So
Did we lose you?
I would
Oh,
say, oh, it
thought we
kind of
lost.
froze a
Thought the
little bit.
Wi-Fi froze. I told you. I was so I was like, all right, is he here? I was like, is he still here? Just playing. Go for it,
But no,
man.
I would say I came up with this idea for this book because I think that this was something that I could benefit from because I didn't understand how to create relationships and maintain and create value, and I think that this would be a perfect like a playbook for artists and producers. So
Oh, yeah, it does make sense. It's like, how do you talk to the artist as an audience, but still relate to the producers? It's almost like two different two different polarities of the same audience, if that makes sense. Like my
exactly, yeah,
tutorials, artists don't care about FL Studio tutorials unless they're trying to make beats. You know what I mean?
right.
yeah.
So yeah, I want to tag you. I want to start with the concept of just the adding value part. Maybe to break it down into concepts so that people can take away something. Because one thing I do know is that beat makers who send in loops and send in beats, they might not have the best social polish. I got to credit going to Villanova University for 4 years as my social training. Like I had to get all the awkwardness out of the way. You know, you level up as you go type of thing. And I've been in so many scenarios to where I can get along with the wealthy folks, the poor folks, the black folks, the white folks, the Asian folks, the whoever folks, as much as I can, because you realize it's just about understanding. What's it called? Read the room.
Yeah, read the room.
And everybody's room is different because there was a school, not to go long on and on and on, but there was a school called Bryn Mawr, I think, University or something like that, Bryn Mawr College. It was an all-girl university. They were very liberal, and a lot of them they like girls. So it was girls who like girls. So we were dumb as guys. We would just stay up till like 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., go to their campus, walk around, try to talk to girls, but they weren't into guys. So we tried to sneak in, we tried to get into this party. It was only girls, and they were about to they're about to beat us up for like trying to finesse our way into this party. They were literally about to beat us. We didn't read the room. Is my point. We should have just let it go.
Yeah.
Just like, so sometimes you just got to read the room. It doesn't matter how much of an ego we have. But what are those little small? Oops, sorry. What are those little small components we could teach these guys about just being able to do what you guys just said?
Yeah, I kind of really just want to piggyback off of what you said, specifically being able to read the room, because most musicians believe that the industry is about talent. If talent alone would determine success, then there would obviously be way more people we're seeing on these TikTok reels on Instagram that have viral moments but aren't really successful. We would see a lot of those people have more sustained success, but in reality, the industry rewards people who understand how to play the game. And the game is relationships. And that's something you've said on your channel for years at this point. And it's very apparent because when I think of specifically you, Busy Works Beats, like in what your brand and everything works with, like you have relationships with these brands that we all love and use, from Razor to the Isotopes to Audis, like because you understand how to go through and have a conversation, how to add value, but more than anything, how to create a win-win situation. I think that's one of the first things. Like we try to go into engagements getting something out of it without trying to give something to it first.
Mm.
I think that's a really huge proponent. So let's say if I know a lot of us, we all for the most part make beats at the house, right? So just let's give like a hard example.
Right.
If you're an at-home producer, you know, one of the things that I definitely suggested, and now we obviously want to make sure that we get respected, that we get what's due to us for our work, but it doesn't mean having to give out free beats. Maybe it's just you going through on Instagram looking for artists that you like and just giving sincere compliments. Because I know how it feels if I post a beat on YouTube or I post a beat on my story and someone's like, yo, what you did with that hi-hat roll is crazy. Like, keep going. Like it's super small stuff, and we overlook that super small stuff, but when we can tell someone genuinely is paying attention and actually cares about what we do, we're willing to like reciprocate that.
True.
So it's a small thing, but I see you do it so often, gang.
True, you made me realize at the core of it, because sometimes we as business people forget about this, and I would love to hear your take on it, Alexander, too, is just simply solving a problem. Like, we build all these products. We're like, okay, I want to make a soul beat course, teaching people how to make soul beats. I'm going to have this kit. I'm going to have this whole thing. But it's like, who even had the problem of making soul beats to begin with, or whatever the thing is? And I think we build stuff with this idea that there's some magical customer base out there, but we forget to solve somebody else's problem. Like you said, when you were interning and you were taking the pictures, that is a problem for artists. They're so busy writing and recording that they don't have time to hire a $600 photographer who's going to bring in the DSLR mirrorless camera and charge them for editing. And you're like, what if I got you the pictures so that you now have content to prove you were here, and then it builds up anticipation for them. So that is value. It's part of the product. And so, like, I don't want to overtalk you guys. I know you have a lot more points, but yeah, I'm curious to hear some of those components you think about, Alexander.
Yeah, most definitely. And I like Crispy's point, and that's what we bring up a lot in the social musician is providing value is very important, but providing value without expecting something in return. And we this is important. This is why we drive this point very often in the book, is because we prioritize, instead of trying to network, we prioritize creating authentic connections. And I think the only way to do that is to provide actual value. And missed my point. I'm sorry.
I mean, I think
Years ago,
to
they
add
tried to
on to
Yeah.
understand. I was saying years ago they tried to. Years ago they tried to. Remember that guy? It's all good. This is your first time on the live. We're not pressured
Yeah.
here. But no, you said it, which was giving without the expectation. Because I think, sorry, Chris, I think a lot of folks in music, they get what do you call it, manipulated that way. They're like, oh, if you just keep giving us value, it'll somehow come back magically over time. And I think people expect it to come back in the form of money, and I think that's where they're confused in the music industry.
that was actually going to be the next thing I actually spoke on. I love that point. So I think, well, Alex has been to two of them, and you saw it online, game. So I throw something called the skate block party, right? And it's where I get skaters together. I have different vendors, whether they do art, they do clothing. I provide free food. I buy like skateboards, a whole bunch of stuff to give away to the community for skate competitions. I have live performers. I do all of
Oh
this
wow.
stuff, right? Once a year. I've done it, I think, 4 or 5 times now. But I was listening to a Tony Robbins tape, and one of the things that I heard that stuck with me, I remember like it was yesterday. I was driving on the 15 South in Las Vegas. He says, the more people you help achieve their dreams, the quicker you'll be able to achieve your dreams.
Right.
And that was something that just like it just stuck with me. The more people I help achieve their dreams, the quicker I'll be able to achieve my own dreams. And
Right.
so giving without expectation, like Alex said, it's definitely something that I think a lot of us who have these great relations end up doing. But we also understand that even though we're giving without expectations, it's like we're building up our bank of our relationship banks. We're building that trust in these people, and it's like, hey, I'm not expecting maybe money, or I'm not expecting a favor, but we know that when we do these things, it puts us in a position where, hey, I know that I'm doing the right things. You
Exactly.
know, so
Exactly. No, you brought up such a good point because it reminded me of a book. Sorry, Alex. I know you look like you're about to go in. Is
Oh, no, no, you good. You good.
I was reading a book about like ancient debt and civilization, random book. But basically, how the world used to work is that we didn't have a currency. Everything you did in a society was based on a social debt. So, for example, if I had a farm and Crispy loaned me some eggs, for example, I now owe him the equivalent to egg value, but there's no currency. It's like we're trading goods or trading a service, and then over time, I'll pay him back potentially, if I'm a good person, the milk or whatever he needs for his farm, wheat. But it might come 2 weeks from now, three months from now, and it was a social debt based economy. So what you're saying about doing things without expectation, you are building coins, and the metaphorical busy works beats bank, because literally Crispy's the only person. I'm trying to think of who else in business. Let me really think for a second. It used to be Curtis King, but he flipped and betrayed everybody. But yeah, Crispy's probably the only person I could think of. Yeah, literally, who can just ask me anything. Like, yo, can you email this thing to your entire email list? Can you say this to the Discord? Can you put this on your YouTube channel? You're probably the only person who could do that. Or can you put this up on your Instagram? Like literally anything that I could do that you could ask for, because he's added so many coins to the Busy Works Beats brand. So that's why. So thank you for that, firstly.
thank you. No, this is I mean, just being able to talk about our first book here on this platform and just like really just have a conversation with you more than anything about it because I keep bringing it up. I'm not trying to inflate you or anything like make your head big or anything, brother, but you are the epitome of like what we're talking about. And so that's another reason why I wanted to talk. Well, Alex and I, we wanted to have this conversation with you. And I remember a conversation, I don't remember if it was texting or if it was a phone call that you and I had. Um, but one of the things that's in the book is like overcoming networking challenges. And people might see, I remember when you had first hit the million, I think it was within the past year or something like that. And how you got there was actually quite controversial, which I loved the most about it. You know what I'm saying? Because the people who were doubting, the people who were hating, they had to take notice. You know, it's like that accomplishment is so much in alignment with my be so good that they can't ignore you. And it's just like they couldn't ignore that. And when I think about your success, it brings up one of the points that we talk about in the book is getting to a level where you prosper. It's not through avoiding challenges. It's through facing them head up. And it's not through it's not through being so brave that you're without fear or without, you know, a little bit of like jitters. It's having those things, but still going. The truth is, you've made more mistakes than most people here on this platform outside of the
Big fact.
Mr. Beast. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
and he is the most, you know, so, but within the music genre, and so many other genres like you've just made more mistakes than people and most people might not see it like that, but people on the inside who are also prospering, who have also progressed, you know, day and time again, that's the reality. You've made more mistakes, but you've also learned how to correct quicker and be more effective and leverage your mistakes.
Big
And
fact.
that's one of the things that we talk about, and it's I'm actually curious on your perspective with that. Like when
Mhm.
you come across a mistake, like what is your perspective on how to either bounce back or reflect on making a mistake?
Yeah, great question. And I had to mute my mic because my fiance came back with my son, and the garage door is super. It's like, "Vee," so I muted my mic.
Oh,
That's
it's all
why
good.
but I was agreeing with everything you were saying, which is yeah, mistakes. I think to realize. Okay, so for example, we love music from the '70s and '80s. You know, because it's human timing, it's human playing a little bit off. It's the analog being a little bit off in pitch. So flaw is what we actually want. We don't want super perfection because there's nothing to change to get it to perfection. So I think to be human literally is to be flawed, and that's what we love as being a human, the flawed part. Because if it's not flawed, it's super quantized, tight, and boring. And so yeah, I think it's like when you run over 400 something thousand dollars in ads on Facebook, you realize like it's just a numbers game. Like you run an ad, you think it works, it either doesn't or it does. You change the background color. Like if I change my lights, I don't even know if the buttons work. This may or may not work. But if my battery died. But if I change my lights behind me to red, do people respond more? And then I change it to yellow. What about now? It's just like you realize everything is just iteration. And I don't look at stuff as a mistake, more so the path that doesn't lead me to a destination. So, and like you said, sorry, you said so much and my mic was muted, I did have my reservations towards you during a certain time. People don't realize this, but Crispy overcame like probably the most polarity you could have between two people. But what we did was when we hopped on the call, it was like nothing. Like when you addressed it head on, it was nothing. But because we weren't communicating, that caused this whateverness. And that was just, something that we overcame. And now he has access to whatever he could ask for. So it just shows how he truly, like from my perspective, has mastered this art. If I had to give it a review, even without reading the book yet.
Man,
But
thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, I would love to hear
And
Alex's thoughts. I hate to make it like a phone combo between me and Crispy. I want to
Oh,
spread the
yeah, no
message here
worries,
too.
man.
But yeah, what's your
yeah,
thoughts on that?
so one thing I was my bad, Alex, because what I was going to say actually involved you, Alex. What I was going to say next. Um, One of the things, so when Alex had actually brought the idea, because this was Alex's idea. Let me clarify this. This was Alex's idea, the title and how to go about adding value and things like that. This was Alex's idea.
Oh,
And
nice.
just to kind of highlight one of the things that he said prior, he was like, it was something that he wanted to get better at. And one thing that I learned through teaching is when you teach something, you reinforce what you already know, and you become
Sure.
better at it. So this is something that Alex and I feel like are both really good at, that we had different experiences that brought us to this point. But yeah, Alex, when you were meditating and when you called me, can you because I want to give people this background, because we'll probably
Yeah.
not talk about this portion of it again, but
Uh,
at least we can get it here on this platform. When you got out of your meditation and you called me and you were telling me about the social musician, I was in Tulare, I remember. Can you kind of go over what you remember from that conversation and like
Yeah.
kind of like that opening moment for this?
Yeah. So, like I said, I was meditating for like 30 minutes. The whole meditation, like, so the meditation came, I mean, the idea came to me like 5 minutes within the meditation. I was like, yo, I got to remember this, this entire 30 minutes so I can, you know, give this idea to Crispy so we can, work on it. And yeah, I thought about it because I realized there's books about the music business, but there's not a lot of books about how to navigate in the music business socially. And one of the points you guys brought up was like reading the room. A lot of us that are in this and that are masterful at the social dynamics of navigating through the music industry don't realize that a lot of people don't know how to read the room. And this is something that you have to learn, like you and like busy works beats is like making countless mistakes. And I thought that this would be a good product to provide for other producers, because this is something that I would like to have first starting out in the music industry. And I brought this idea up to Crispy because I think that, like I said, he's a
oh, we lost him. Is that a chunky outside my door?
I think you cut out, brother.
Whoops, sorry.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I
Hey
can hear
there,
you now.
baby.
Well, yeah, I was pretty much saying that you were a perfect, reflection of the social musician, and I know that this is a relationship where we bounce out ideas and help each other out. I think that our relationship, I learned a lot of these things from my relationship with you, and I know that this can be helpful to a lot of producers and artists on the come up. And I would have loved to have this, starting out in my journey. So that's why, I thought this would be a good idea to.
Got you. Sorry, my son was pressing buttons. I just wanted to say,
All
there's
good.
Crispy and there's Alexander. Say hi.
What's up, little busy?
Say hi. He put his forehead to the mic. That
Konnichiwa.
means he wants to kiss you. He wants you to kiss him on the forehead. All right. So hopefully he doesn't get raudi. But he just came
Oh,
back.
man, it's all good.
But I gotta watch his
It's
little.
be it's yeah, it's beautiful to just let kids be kids.
I gotta watch
You
his little
know.
sandwich hands. Yeah, his kids be kids and kids be kids, and he's playing guitar with sandwich hands. All right, that's great. What's up, Platinum in the chat? But yeah, I agree. And when you got, because we just got the 10-minute warning on Zoom because I don't have the paid Zoom, so I'll definitely continue some of the conversation from my perspective. But what's up, baby? I think that's the missing component that people don't understand leads to. So, for example, a lot of producers want to get in this market because of money or opportunities or placements, but they forget, okay, it's not just the skill of making beats. It's you got to be actually social and business is probably 99% of the equation. And the music is like 0.1. Because how does BusyWorks Beats, using me as an example, how can I talk to literally celebrities, connect with all these people on Instagram and behind the scene business? Metro follows me. Shout out to Metro, Illmind, who else? and Rodney Jerkins, you know, all these big time people, Teddy Riley, the person I found out that I love music because of his music is now like connected with me and
Facts.
talking to me on the thing. I'm like, how is this real? You know, it's like full circle moment. And I don't have one, I do have a placement technically, but I'd never chased a placement. So it's not just be skilled, get placement, have social status. There's other ways. And I think people just don't know that you can get to your goal a lot faster, understanding the business and the social side that you guys are teaching, I assume, in this book. I haven't read it yet. One sec.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to add on to that, um, one of the things that we thought about when we actually wrote the bro, that's so funny. You just being escorted out the room. That's hey, bro. I'm curious what my kid is gonna look like. They're probably gonna have
Oh,
crazy Super Saiyan hair.
Oh yeah, you got the
I,
long hair.
yeah, I was laughing because I saw you pick your boy up and just like,
Yeah.
shit, it's time to go.
Yeah, it was
yeah.
like it was fun. He was cute playing the guitar in the background and everything. But I'm like, we got. I don't mean to be rude to y'all. What am I doing?
Oh,
I'm
you
putting
threw the cowboy hat on?
yeah, and I realized my headphones are way too big, the Audeze headphones. But yeah, we just did this at the park or whatever. But I just like to be silly. One thing I realize is just is to be lighthearted and to really just learn the person. Like for example, I booked a started. I didn't know where we left off. I booked a studio session out in LA, out at Paramount Studios in Room B. It was like $120 an hour, and I remember inviting a fellow content creator out. I won't put his business. It was half from what was it, Tree Mind, or I forgot his first company, but now it's called Drumify. And now he's a successful producer and everything. But we literally for 2 hours talked about relationships. We were making a beat, laying hi hats, and we were like, you know what? Let's just talk about life stuff first before everything else. And that's what led to our deeper business relationship, is because we didn't put the music first, we put the person first. And I think sometimes we just forget to be lighthearted and like it's not all about business. But at the same time, Crispy's been in those sessions where I can't imagine being an artist and you got the engineer fooling around talking to their buddy. I'll never forget. Sorry to cut your stories off. Is I booked a session at Forge Recording Studios outside of Philadelphia, paid probably $80 an hour, and the dude just let some random rapper come in. He started having a whole conversation. I'm like, bro, I'm paying for time, and you're sitting here having a conversation, and then he took like forever to load up the beat. I'm like, bro, this is not good. This is so there is a dichotomy to it. It's like you can't be too friendly. I think that's why I said read the room. Like it's based on the room. Like my rooms and sorry to again talk over y'all guys, but my room in Paramount, it's like anybody could have walked through that door. We would have found a way to add them to the song. Like literally anybody could have been a janitor, because that's the fun of it. But if I had a track that I needed to record and they're eating up my time that I'm paying for, then that's a different problem. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just went off on a random tangent. So I don't know where we left off. My ADD kind of took me in different directions there.
No, I think that was actually like right in alignment. It was right in alignment. And we got about like 4 minutes left.
Oh yeah.
One thing I do want to say, because I saw somebody post here on the chat. This was some time ago. They said they want to get on Grand Theft Auto 6 radio. Now this is not a step by step on how to get in Grand Theft Auto 6 radio, but something that I did do was I had actually got my first check for being a content creator, and it had nothing to do with YouTube. So what it was is, and this is building relationships, adding value. I've been shopping at the Goodwill in Vegas for the last 7, 8 years at this point, right? I buy books, I read them, I buy vinyl, and I flip them and make beats out of them. And one day, a couple months ago, I just DM'd or I sent a voice memo to Goodwill. It says, "Hey, I've been supporting you guys for some years. I love what you guys are doing. I feel like the value that you provide or the resources that you guys provide are undervalued. I would like to know a way I can help, broaden your message, basically." And then so like the VP of marketing or somebody like ended up messaging me back. We went back and forth with some emails, some Zooms. Long story short, I got paid $1,000 to go through and make 6 videos, 6 very short, like under a minute videos for Goodwill, a place
Okay.
I would have shopped regardless, you know, and I still shop there. You know, every week I go and buy books. But one of the things is that, again, I reached out with adding value. It didn't matter what happened, you know what I'm saying? But it was because I went out and reached out to them first. And I just had a, hey, how can I help you guys? I like what you guys have going on. That I was able to be a beneficiary of that. And then I even got invited to their 50th anniversary where the CEO spoke. I was like
Oh
in one
wow.
of the front rows and all those things. But again, it's because I'm reaching out with value first. And so that's one of the many things that we talk about in the book, but I think it's so important to emphasize that. And again, as you said, Busy, that it's not always about receiving money. Sometimes it's just having a good person in your back pocket, you
Right.
know, just someone who's willing to go to bat for you. And so
Right.
I wanted to mention that. It wasn't Grand Theft Auto 6, but hey, reach out
Okay.
to Rockstar, you know, who
Yeah.
knows? The worst they
Right.
can say is no, and you're right back where you're already at. So,
Yeah, because and I'll tell a quick story before you, just to give you guys a reason as to why you guys should go support that book. I was on Clubhouse during the golden era of Clubhouse, which is an audio only platform, social media, and this is during the pandemic. And I was just in the rooms giving value, wasn't getting paid a dime, okay, but just giving as much game as I could to people who needed help in the music industry and business online. And randomly, I guess there was a lady in the audience who was listening to me speak. She created her own room and invited like 10 people. And then she just expressed to the room, she's like, guys, I need help. She felt so much pressure. She's like, I need help. Somebody help me. And she's like, can you, does anybody here have connections to, I forgot what she said. Like, can anybody do this beat or something? I forgot what the request was. But long story short, I had an opportunity. It was like worth $5,000 cash to do music for this event called, Field Day out in Denver. It was inside of their baseball stadium. And so what I did was I passed that opportunity to a really high level music producer. His name is Mars from 1500 or Nothing. I said, why would I take this myself when I could add value to Mars? And I passed the thing to Mars because he wanted to do what's called like a We Are the World type song. So it fit the vibe. It was like We Are the World plus baseball stadium plus a good cause. Darn, less than a minute. I'm talking this much. And then my long story short is like, just because I was being a good person or whatever, giving value, I didn't expect that to happen, but I passed the opportunity to somebody else. And I forgot my point. But the point is, I wasn't chasing placements. I created an opportunity from that. So
mm.
that's it, just out of thin air. It wasn't like some pathway to do it. But sorry, we have less than probably 30 seconds now. I talk so much. But shout out anything you guys want to get off real quick. I'm so sorry on the time.
No, you're good. You guys can find the book at crispyakiyama.com or alexandermalik.com. We'll drop it in the comments. Appreciate you guys for staying tuned and thank you for having us, Business Beats.
Crispy the
Hey,
GOAT. Thank
thank
you
you.
for adding so much value to my life and to this channel. Go follow Crispy Akiyama on IG. The only person I recommend in the entire. Oh dang. Okay, let me switch my camera, y'all. Hold on one sec. Hold up. Wait. All right, my fault, y'all. I gotta switch cameras. The Zoom camera is different than the. Oh, did I lose my? Let's see. All right, yeah, I got a cowboy hat at the fair here. Shout out to everybody who's in the chat. I'm about to give you some more games. Give me a second. I gotta pull up the right camera. This is the wrong camera. Zoop, zoop, zoop. But yeah, so you guys are witnessing the seed. Again, like I said, Chris is the only person. There's so many people in this space. And I think he's the only person who will actually deliver the value, be a sociable person. He's going to be the next, whatever Busy Works Beats is, he's the next one. There is Young Chambers. So there are people out there. There's Young Tank even, who now has a channel. But there's certain DNA that certain people have where when you see the DNA, you're like, yeah, they're next up type of thing. Like Jay Cactus has that DNA. Let me load up the chat real quick. I'm not using my headphones, so if I'm too loud, just tell me to back up. You said, please make a beat together. You know what? I want to do that with people, but thank you, Platinum. Sorry, I just saw that. I want to make a beat with people live, but let me see. But I don't know how to use that program. It's called Muse. So I figure out how to use the program. Why is this? Okay, it's off kilter. But yeah, let me see the chat. Sorry, y'all. When I'm in a conversation, I like to focus on the person, and I just make sure you guys can hear the audio. Punch and Beat says that's where I met you, and we talked actually. Oh wait, it's really all about treat people how you want to be treated. I mean, be positive, build business relationships. Wait, where did you meet me? If you meet me, I will go through like 20 topics in like 10 minutes. This guy's videos led me to my own sound. He's a goat. I still remember that awkward Clubhouse meeting. Oh, the Clubhouse. Yeah, okay. Shout out to you. Yeah, Clubhouse was a whole different vibe. Let me screenshot that. Thank you. Thank you, Pungent, for staying in the mix. Yeah, I got to go live with Platinum. Platinum and I were supposed to go live yesterday, but I was so behind on things. I'm like, I can't host a live right now. Legends is here. Gatito, what up? South Easy Falcon is here. Domini is here. Can we talk about mixing kicks and 808s? I probably will do that in a different stream. This one's more so about the social side. All I want is my beats to be on GTA. So one thing I will say about corporation work, yeah, it is relationship based. Oh, thank you, Platinum. It is relationship based, but you also have to be in their ecosystem. And you have to think as if you're a game maker. For example, if I was making GTA 6, would I want to chase down every individual songwriter, make sure everybody has their rights cleared, make sure everybody has, actually created the song? Or would I rather go to a Sony who has done all that curation for me, and then I just pick the best song? So sometimes, these games go to the publishers because it's just easier. They go to the labels because it's easier. There's work already done for them, and they're just going to license whether in bulk or it's harder to do deals with individual people is my point than to go straight to, a conglomerate that has wrangled up all those people. And it's easy to license out 1,000 songs. Whereas if I had to chase down 1,000 artists and go on the SoundCloud and all that, it's more difficult. And I think even though they make billions of dollars, they're trying to make a AAA game, which is like, you can't really, like, for example, if you guys are on Sony, sign to Sony ATV, you'll get a ton of, if you ever wondered how people get into NBA 2K so much, it's because they're probably signed to Sony. You have to think, Sony has music, they have video games, and they have movies. So the video games they publish or are tightly related to publishing, they need music to put in the video game. So they already have a music label. That's what it's for, is to put in their video game. So they're going to pick from their own people before they pick from outside people, is my point. And the same way AAA video games have studios and stuff, they basically have labels. Like EA is a label of video game making. Take-Two Interactive, which makes GTA 6, is a label. They also have other games, NBA 2K. They have, so just for the fact that they have NBA 2K, I believe, let me make sure I'm saying that right. Take-Two Interactive. Pretty sure they have NBA 2K. Games on label. I don't even know how to ask the question to Google. So they have, let me see here. Labels and divisions. All right, this might not be as easy as I thought, trying to figure out which games they make. Let me just ask Grok. Grok knows. Grok always knows. Grok, which games does Take-Two Interactive make and manage? All right, we're going to get a quick little list going. But my point is, if they make NBA 2K and they're going for 2K games, 2K Sports, 2K Play, Grand Theft Auto series. Okay, so they own Rockstar Games, which makes Red Dead, Max Payne, LA Noire, Grand Theft Auto. It says Rockstar Games, a wholly owned subsidiary of Take-Two. So again, Rockstar Games is like a sub-label. What's up, Crispy? He's in the chat. He says, thank you for having us, brother. I was on the Zoom and forgot to hop back on the live. Oh. Yeah, my Zoom is the free one, so I apologize for being so short. It didn't feel like 40 minutes, though. Kind of flew by. But yeah, my apologies. I was just trying to do too much at one time, as you saw, and I didn't mean to be disrespectful to your partner either. Um, so here we have Rockstar is the subsidiary. Think of it like an Interscope. I don't know who Interscope is even owned by, so I don't even know this analogy. Who owns Interscope? I have no idea. But think of it like a subsidiary label, like an Interscope, whereas a Warner or a Sony or a Universal is the parent company, the umbrella company, the holding company. So Take-Two Interactive is like a holding company, and they have Rockstar underneath. And if they own NBA 2K underneath their umbrella of companies, and NBA 2K from 2K Sports is getting their music from Sony, then chances are the parent company gets all their music from Sony. So if you wanted to be in GTA for real, you might have to be in that Sony ecosystem and, be getting their emails and stuff. Also, there's a guy, his name is, is it Lester or, I'm forgetting that dude's name. But there's a key person who is responsible for the radio on GTA. And I don't know why I'm going blank on his name. Again, I got to ask Grok. Once I hear his name, I'll know it. Hold on. Person responsible, I want to say Lester, for GTA radio in GTA San Andreas. He used to pop up on the Opie and Anthony show a ton, and he was tied into the comedy circle. Laszlo, okay, that's his name, Laszlo Jones. He was a key figure for producing for the Rockstar radio. So if you didn't have not only did you have to be signed to Sony, I'm saying metaphorically speaking, you also had to know Laszlo and have a relationship with Laszlo, because if Laszlo didn't like you, he wouldn't put you in the game. And so that's what they were talking about, having these relationships is you can have all the skill and be signed to the right people, but you still have to have interpersonal skills to where, the next person won't block you from an opportunity, or instead of making it negative, the next person will think of you for an opportunity. And then I'm going to get into some concrete stuff that I've written in my book. And I would, Crispy, if you're still here, I would love to, for your book, give away all my books with your book. If that's a thing, if you want to do that, that'd be cool. That way, people still get all the value all in one. I don't, so that could be something to add value. Let me think here. So busy. I got a realistic question. I wanted to ask you about samples and copyrights. When we make something in our DAW, do we own it outright, or are there steps in play that need to be taken? If you're using, I'm not a lawyer with fiduciary responsibility, so please double check this and assume that everything I say is false. No, but basically when you're in your DAW and you make something from scratch, when you export that thing to a physical medium like a CD, or you put it online, you own the copyright. So anytime you make something and make it real, you own the copyright. However, if you drag a loop from your library that somebody made and they own the copyright into your DAW, and you don't do much of anything to it, or you change it up but it's still their loop and you export it, it depends on that person's terms. So that's when the question of copyright comes into play, because is it all original material, or did you copy off of somebody else? So that's where it gets a little bit tricky in the copyright conversation. But I just try to stay away from people who don't have clear terms, or people who aren't, they're not really known like that. Because you got basically, anytime you use a loop from anybody, even if they have terms that they told you in Discord, it does not make it a legal agreement. So you guys got to make sure that you have something in paper that you both sign to agree that I'm passing you this loop, copyright free, you own it. Because, that's what a lot of kids do. They'll get loops from Discord, and the Discord kids will say, hey, guys, this is copyright free or whatever. Use it. They'll say, like, I want 50%. And then by the time you get the placement, they're changing up the percentage. Now it's not 50%. I want 80%. Now they're getting greedy and just charging $100,000 for a track because they don't know the business, stuff like that. So I understand where the problem comes from. It comes from the fact that people aren't doing their due diligence when they're getting the loops. Anytime you get a loop from anybody, you need to have paperwork that says you're either passing me the ownership of this through copyright, you're passing me the copyright ownership, or I'm allowed to, what's the technical term? I'm allowed to license it out non-exclusively. You have to have some kind of paperwork that says you are entitled to use this thing, or else you could potentially get caught up in all that mess. So that's why a lot of pro level producers don't want to mess with like random loop makers, because they don't know the business. And by the time they get the placement, they're starting to get greedy, and they'll kill the whole placement because they don't know anything about the business. So it's not that pro industry producers are being stingy. It's that they'd rather save the headache of losing a placement because some dude off in Belgium doesn't know about, not charging $300,000 for a beat, stuff like that. Always fresh slate. I don't even use templates. Hold on, I gotta mute my mic. When you say flip it, what is it? I don't know what you're saying. What is it? Do you use sample? If you use samples from anything, then so if you're using a fresh slate, then yeah, I mean, there's nothing to worry about. Anytime you put out something into the public forum, it's yours. So what's the best? And you don't need a bunch of paperwork to do that. It's just to pursue people, you have to go register it with copyright.gov. But whenever you put something up on SoundCloud, YouTube, the internet in general, it's yours. That's the only thing that's really protecting music right now, even from AI, is the fact that you own your copyright. What's the best way to get your beats out there and turn it into a career? Instead of chasing people, like literally knocking on people's doors, hey, would you like to buy this solar panel? You have to figure out how to attract people to if this were like a neighborhood, for example, pardon me, and I was taught to go knock on everybody's door, door to door, and ask them if they want to buy solar panels. What up, DT? That's the old way of doing it. Not saying it doesn't work, but wouldn't you rather walk around your neighborhood every day, wave to your neighbor, say hello, and hand them a free brochure that says, hey, I'm having a cookout, March 15th at my house in the backyard. We're going to have music. We're going to have free drinks, free food, just so that everybody can come meet each other and have fun. Wouldn't that be more appealing than somebody knocking on their door out of nowhere, uninvited, trying to sell somebody a solar panel? And so that same mentality has to, what's the word? Transverse. I don't know if that's a word. Traverse. It needs to translate into the music business. So instead of saying, how do you get your beats out there? That's equivalent to saying, how do I knock on people's door who don't know me from a hole in the wall and sell my solar panels? That's not how you do business. The good business. You can do business that way. It does work, but is it the best way? And that's why a lot of these companies who want to, expand, they'll hire the underling who will go knock on the doors because they don't want to ruin their reputation. They'd rather let somebody else risk their time and effort. But if this were a neighborhood, doesn't it sound more appealing to invite your neighbors to a cookout for free so that you can come meet them and figure out how to add value to them and get to know them first? And then you ask them, do they like music and do they like the beats that you guys are dancing to because you made that? Then it will become more appealing. I think people just don't know how to make their thing appealing. So it's not about getting your beats out there. It's about how do you attract the people towards your stuff, your business, your personality, and then you start talking about this stuff. So I think people are trying to force their product that people don't want. You have to build the demand first. Then you introduce the product. Everybody wants to produce the supply first with no demand, and they're wondering why it's not working. You got to create demand first. And that's the art of being a social master. When we make something in our DAW, okay. Usually when I make a track, I add a bunch of different patterns that I design with that. Oh, shout out to Pungent. Interpolation. Yeah, so something that helped me just comprehend music in general is that thinking how music used to be. So I'm not a master teacher. I'm sure a lawyer could break it down more technically than this. But something that helped me understand composition versus the master. What up, CG? I definitely got to get you. That's funny. The guy. At first, I thought you were just putting an emoji to say what's up. Then I forgot I was wearing a cowboy hat. That is hilarious, actually. Oh, man, I definitely want to hop on a live with you, even if it's for 20 minutes, not trying to hold you up. One of these times we got to do that. What was I saying, though? Oh, something that helped me understand is like music used to be written on paper. It used to have notes on a piece of paper. And so that was a product back in the day. That was a product back in the day, was written music, and that's called the composition. So imagine a bunch of sheet music. That's the composition. Now, when somebody records a song to that composition and puts it into audio form, okay, sick. I got to look at my calendar. This week, I'm pretty open. I think I got to reschedule with Platinum, which I would love to do that. I forget who I have on tomorrow. I don't think I have anybody tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern time. But yeah, tomorrow and Thursday, I'm open at noon. So whenever you guys want to, whoever picks whatever slot first, I'm down. I think I'm good for tomorrow. Yeah, because today was, I don't know. I gotta double check my calendar, which is my camera right here. But long story short, you had the written music, which is the composition. So again, that was a product back in the day. So when you think of music as a piece of paper and then also a beat in an audio form, oh, sick. Okay, Platinum. Tomorrow might be good. Right at 12 p.m. Eastern. And again, I apologize that first time. I was doing too much on my business. And I was like, dang, this is not going to work. Okay, I'll write that down. Tomorrow is today, March 12th. p.m. Eastern equals Platinum. Because CG be on the move, so I never know in CG. So I gotta schedule with him. But so anyhow, when I think about the composition again as a product unto itself, it's written music, sheet music. That's a thing. It's like writing a book. You wrote a book. But when you write a book, there might be a movie that comes out from that book. And that's a whole different thing called a master. So this is the composition. It's like a book, like a physical book. And the musical master is like a movie. It's like what's the word? Interpolation of the book. I'll say interpretation, or is that a word? Their interpretation, it sounds wrong. But their interpretation of the book. It's like how Harry Potter in the book was like way different than when you saw the movie. You're like, that's not how the book went. But it's because they had to fit it all in an hour and a half. Same thing with music. It's like I could write all the sheet music, but then you do something crazy. You add trap drums over my romantic ballad, and now it's a whole different thing, but you're using the DNA from my book. So when you think about the composition as like literally a physical book and then the master as like a movie, it starts to make more sense. But we forgot that music used to be written that way. And that's why people get confused about composition and masters and all that type of terminology. Samantha says, I'm from your drum tutorial. Shout out to the drum tutorial gang. No, thank you for watching that. Yeah, so whenever you want, I'll make it work. Shoot, if you're free, what's Thursday? The 13th? It's just easy to do it at 12 p.m. Eastern time, but I don't know which time zone you're in. But yeah, if you want to do Thursday, wide open. And if something comes up, fine. I respect business people. We got stuff that actually, like, we got higher priorities, so I understand that. Zaki says, I F with your hat. I know it's kind of vibing. I might wear this. I don't know. I might wear this. I bought this at a fair. I might wear it from now on because I didn't cut my hair. So like my hair is just kind of like a desert storm under here. Pungent says, yo, Busy, do you do one-on-ones? I used to years ago, but I just got frustrated with it because I don't know. It either felt like I wasn't skilled enough at the time to help people, or the person didn't know what I was even telling them. And so it became frustrating. Oh, thank you, CG. And so it became frustrating to do the one-on-ones because either people weren't listening or it just gave me too much stress. So I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Samantha says, how do I get to the pattern maker for drums? Oh yeah, in FL Studio. Hold on, I gotta make this bigger. Let me switch sides here. In FL Studio, there's 5 buttons right here. 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, yeah, let me make sure y'all can see the screen. Hold on. Okay, you should be able to. All right, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these 5 buttons are the only buttons you really need to know about FL Studio. It leads you around the entire program. So it's gonna be the 3rd button in the middle called the channel rack. This is where we add our drum patterns. And what you would do from here is you go into your browser, which is the end button over here. You just right click, open a new channel, or you could left click and drag samples. And I wouldn't recommend dragging samples because you could accidentally override a sample and then it gets a little messy. You have to hit Control Z to undo it. What up, person in chat? So that's how you load up your drums, and then you just make, oh, I made some dope drums last night. I was making a drum kit for you guys for the beat battle on March 15th. We're gonna have a huge beat battle March 15th where it's gonna be a lot of prizes. And I was making a product because I want to do a fundraiser for my charity. It's called, where I give Bibles out I try to do it every year. And so I want to raise money for the charity. So what I'm doing is creating a drum kit right now. And it's gonna be more than just a drum kit. But I figured out a way to make snares that sound so hard. Like, listen to the snare. I made this from scratch. This is not a like pre-made snare. This is from scratch. That thing is snapping. So I'm still programming the sounds right now. I got crazy kicks in here. Like kicks go stupid hard. So yeah, I'm just learning how to make better snares. Here, I'll give you guys a little sauce, random sauce, because I can't even keep it to myself. I'm just so pumped about this trick. If you go to the pre-computed effects, this is so random that I'm teaching you guys this, but if you go here, I never touch this EQ knob, but what it does is it like, I don't know what the freak it does actually. I can't even tell you what it does. It shifts the frequency balance. I guess it's almost like a tilt EQ, but it also does something to the like headroom. So I don't know what this actually does. Okay. But basically if you move this knob and then you use your boost knob, it will make stuff sound way different. Okay. So try using that. That's all I'm going to give you, a little hint for you guys. So that's the kind of part of the secret as to how I got snares to sound like that. Because I took this snare and I made it that. Let me see if I could. So here's the original snare. I give you guys the original so that you can do it yourself too. And then you go to pre-computed, go to EQ. I'll usually turn it to the left and then I'll boost. And I'll switch it to the right for more bass. See how it added that like that body to it? That's crazy. So it went from this, okay, to this. So again, I have no idea what it does behind the scenes, but it's sauce. Just wanted to give that to y'all. Couldn't even keep that secret to myself. But yeah, I just happened to press it one day and it just worked. And I was like, okay, it works. All right, so whoa, losing my cowboy hat here. Let's get back to the social architecture here. So again, I didn't read Crispy's book just yet, but I definitely have some sauce to give you guys as far as how to navigate the modern industry. So just for people who don't know, and Crispy did mention this a little bit. Hold on, let me pull up a screen real fast. Let me acknowledge y'all real quick. What do you use to stream? I'm using OBS. Whoops. I'm using OBS for the stream ability. I'm using an app called Droid Cam for my iPhone. So, excuse me, to load up into OBS, there's an app called Droid Cam. I'm using an iPhone as the webcam through Wi-Fi. And then what else am I using? I'm using my DAW for my audio. And I'm using a program on Mac called Loopback by Rogue Amoeba. So that's how I can talk inside of FL Studio. OBS hears it, and I could use my phone as the webcam. Those are all the apps that I use. And there's also something called the vertical layout for OBS. I forget the exact term for it, but basically you could film vertically straight from OBS. You said, what's the drum thing where I see everyone pressing with all the little buttons? Maybe FPC chat. What do you guys think about? I'm trying to interpret what that could mean. Nice snare, but the kick was hitting in the studio. There we go. What do you use? Oh yeah. Want to do live mixes, but weird stuff happening while streaming for me. Are you on PC? If you're on PC, oh, also there's an app called Elgato. Oh, I forgot. I'm using a Stream Deck too by Elgato. That's basically a little button thing that allows me to switch scenes, they're called. So you could like transition and you could do different things like mute your mic. You could do different stuff with it. The headphones, those are Audeze. They sent those to me, Audeze MM500s. They sent those to me, but they make my Sennheiser sound like a piece of thin paper. So that's how dramatic they are. Okay, Mac Gang, there you go. Yeah, Loopback is the program you probably want for your recorder to hear your DAW audio. You need Loopback. Okay, you got the Stream Deck. Let's go. Do you have a playlist for sound designing? I have a course about it because the reason I don't give away all my sauce is because it creates real money. So it's like, would I give away money for free? Like, I don't know. Some stuff I put on YouTube, some stuff I don't. And I know people created whole businesses based on my sound design techniques. So for that reason, it's almost like me licensing a business model to somebody. So that's why I sell it. It's like McDonald's. Does McDonald's give away their McDonald's for free? No. I'm not talking to you legends. I'm just saying, like, this is my mentality. So some stuff I have on YouTube, but the majority of my like real sauce and sound design is offline on my website. But if you go to busyworksbeats.com and then go to where it says all courses and then search sound design, you'll find that course. There's multiple courses, but look for the one that says like drum kit sound design, because that will give you like the sauce. But if you want like the step-by-step, look for the sound. I think it's called Sound Design 101 or Sound Design for Beginners or something like that. If you want to like learn sound design from the ground up. So yes, my mouse got stuck. All right, good. The kick is hitting on those speakers. There's a battle March 15th. Yes, we're going to have a huge beat battle March 15th. The sponsors are going to be Arturia. They're going to give away the V Collection X, which is I think it's like $600 value. We have Sky Keys as an official sponsor, giving out his plugin. And then we have myself giving out my plugin bundle, which is Hercules, Hypnos, and premium access to over 68 plus music production courses right at busyworksbeats.com. We try to do a deal with Native Instruments, but I don't think they understand the concept. So we're going to have to pass on them for now and just focus on the companies that get it. So yeah. So maybe in the future, Native Instruments, but for now, Arturia, we're going to focus on them. All right, so just going back in the chat, making sure I'm addressing everybody. Do you know some plugins? Sound balance with beat? I'm trying to make out what that could even mean. Like how to mix your beat. Isotope is pretty good as far as like a broad suite of stuff. Isotope with a Z. Usually when I make a track, I add a bunch of different patterns that I design. Okay, dope. But yeah, just to continue the conversation back to the social mastery, I'm gonna give you guys probably 5 keys to social mastery. All right, now some of this derives from, what's that book called? 48 Laws of Power, but it's not to be manipulated. It's simply he acknowledged that these exist. Let me pull up the actual laws real quick just to have them in the background. 48 Laws of Power. Now this book I don't recommend as like, how do I explain this? I don't recommend this book as a guide on how to move. It's just psychological things to be aware of, put it that way. It's a reference book more than a book you should like build your whole essence around. So it says here, never outshine the master is the first law. This one is the biggest social law in my opinion, to never outshine the master, because what people do, they don't realize they're doing this, is they will go into a room. That's why I said read the room. They'll go into a room and they'll try to like usurp the room, whether through content or whether through public speaking or whether through talking too much. Like I've had seminars in real life out in Anaheim, and funny enough, it was Curtis King. I'm not talking negatively. I'm just, giving you guys some context. But I had an Anaheim seminar where we were teaching music production, music business, and all this type of stuff. And I had a whole panel, and I threw the event. I've invested all the money behind the event. And I had a whole panel of, let's say, 6 to 9 people at a time. It was like a 3-day event too. And we had a bunch of public speakers. So one thing that I noticed is that when Curtis King got the mic, he knows how to talk. And this was a critique. He's acknowledged this. I'm not saying this in a negative light. I'm trying to say he's the only person I could think. And I think what happens is when the other industry guys were trying to like make some points and like give people tips and stuff, they felt like Curtis King was outshining them and like overbearing with the talking, to the point where they felt like they weren't included into the conversation and they kind of pulled away and stopped giving. So this is something I see with all podcast hosts. Anytime I see a podcast host online and they just, like, for example, I love this guy, Ty Lopez. I rarely critique this man, but when he first started his podcast, he would have guests on and he'd be like, the world's, what's something that said like the world's master of cold calling or something like that would be on his podcast. And then he would start the conversation with the person, and then he would be giving a lot of stories the entire time, to where the person's like barely ad-libbing in the conversation. And they're like, I could feel, and they're like, can I get a word in type of thing? So, but what I do love about Ty Lopez is that Ty Lopez was way more interesting than his guests. So I understand why that energy would go that way. But if you guys plan on podcast or, creating content in that way to meet artists and people in the business, you just got to be really, really, really careful not to talk too much. That's why, when I had Crispy on earlier, I was like really letting them have the floor, because one of the biggest pet peeves people have when they go on podcasts, they feel like they're wasting their time because the host just talks way too much. And so that's the first principle of never outshine the master. It's not always never be better than the person in the room, act like you don't know how to play music. That's not what it means. It just means read the room and let the person of influence their environment. You want to figure out a symbiotic relationship with that person of influence. You don't want to compete against their influence. And that's where people have issues, is when they're competing for influence over their ecosystem instead of figuring out a symbiotic way to add value to an ecosystem. That sounds more complicated than what it is. Next law here says, don't trust friends, use enemies. So that is super manipulative. But what this is getting at is that a friend could be an enemy. If you guys watch Love Island, for example. Hold on, my son's going off again. Hold on, y'all. All right. So back to what I was saying is the second law says don't trust friends, use enemies. In my perspective, what it means is that friends can appear as friends, but truly they're enemies. There's a show called Love Island, for example, where if you watch the show, they all compete for love, and the dudes who are always right next to the dude that they're buddy with, they always go after the same girl. Like they always flip every single time. So whenever you see two dudes like being buddies, they're like, yeah, man, we're gonna win this game. It's really the one dude wants the one dude's girl, and they're just waiting. So that's the don't trust friends, use enemies. In my opinion, it's more so don't trust friends, because most people are just enemies in a friend suit, basically. People can't comprehend that in business until you get burned for thousands of dollars. Then you'll understand. All right, so this is a book for reference. I wouldn't use it as a playbook type of thing. So let me give you guys more sauce. Just gotta wait for the background noise. Okay, so it says mask your intention. I'm just gonna run through these. Mask your intentions. I wouldn't say do this intentionally, but anytime people ask about business, what you're building, sometimes people are asking that because they want to, supersede your efforts, or what's the word for it? Sabotage your efforts so that they can demolish it before you even begin to build it. So that's why you got to be careful sharing your intentions and what you plan to build with everybody. Don't be scared to talk about your vision, but when you are in business, in this music business and business in general, when you share what you're building, people try to thwart a threat before it exists. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Next, it says protect your reputation. In this music business, reputation isn't what people think it is. They think it's, like Crispy mentioned this during our live stream. He said, I've encountered a lot of hatred around that 1 million subscriber mark. You would think people would celebrate and be happy, which some people did, and I don't want to discredit their acknowledgement of that. Most people, however, were on the Weaver Beats Bandcamp trying to find any flaw they could find in Busy Works Beats. Now, to an outsider who just started watching the game, they'd be like, oh man, Busy's reputation is done for just because he had 1,000 comments in this guy's video saying X, Y, and Z, making up stuff. But that doesn't mean the reputation is done just because a small segment who wasn't even my audience to begin with said something. And the hard part to understand about reputation is, look at Donald Trump. He's the president of the United States. Look at Elon Musk. He's still a billionaire, even though he did the Sig Heil salute or whatever it's called. Not saying go do this, but I'm saying that people think that reputation is what it isn't. They think sentiment from people who are not customers is your reputation. Your reputation is your relationship with your customer base, people who you've built a business relationship with. That's who you need to worry about. All the people who are not customers, have never paid $1, you don't need to worry about them because they've never shared any part of their self with you. So if they're not a customer, not a potential customer, it doesn't matter what they think because they're never going to spend $1 with you. So why are you worried about people who have never spent $1 with you? And that will help you guys get over your fear of putting yourself out there. You really have to mentally, embody, and I'm living proof of this, that once you understand that everybody is not your customer, that never will be your customer, what's the point of getting somebody to like you at a store? If I made this a real life example, if I was at a mall trying to be friends with everybody who walked by, it's like, what's the point? They're not going to come to my cookouts. They're not going to wish my son a happy birthday. They're not going to give me information about business. They're not going to give me any clues about how to be better. They're not going to do anything additive to my life. So why am I worried about some stranger's opinion in a mall? Same thing with online, So I think people tend to blend sentiment with their customers' actual relationship with them. Let me read the chat real quick. If you are a music artist on YouTube, do you need to worry about the algorithm for views and subscribers? An algorithm is just built to customize somebody's experience with YouTube. So I want to remove your definition for algorithm as if it's like this thing that goes against you type of thing. If you're a music artist on YouTube, do you need to worry about it? Yes, you need to have. Here's the thing. I'm trying not to go on too many tangents here, but YouTube is not your audience. I have 1 million subscribers on here, but that does not mean I could message all 1 million people and say, hey, come to my cookout. YouTube owns that relationship with the audience. I can simply rent it if I get their attention. Okay. And that's how YouTube works. So even though we have followers, we don't own that relationship. YouTube owns the relationship. This is why I teach people to build an email list and a text list, because then you own the relationship. Right now, YouTube has the 1 million subscribers. I can simply make content for that pocket of people. And if those pocket of people respond to or click on it, pardon me, and engage with it over time and it adds value to them, then they'll show me to more of that audience. But if it doesn't do those things, they can withhold me talking to that entire audience. So we don't own the YouTube audience. So as a music artist, it's the same exact thing. You need to focus on solving people's problems at the end of the day so that they come back to you and over and over and over again. What's that journey look like for them? Where are they trying to go? There's 5 things people want in life: health, wealth, social status. This is what this whole live stream is about. Mastery of a craft or a skill, and power. Those are the only 5 things people want. And your thing has to lead them to one of those outcomes. That's what value is. I define that in my Producer Bible book, which I would love to give away with Crispy's launch. If you're a music artist on YouTube, I read the wrong one. Samantha says, do you do trades if someone else has altered a skill you don't have, like graphic design? Yeah, the way I had a studio project, it was a commercial studio, and I literally had to sit down and ask myself, if I can't pay any of these people, how can I incentivize them to come contribute to the studio project? So I thought, okay, I'll have an engineer. The engineer will get experience. He or she will have access to the stems, the mixing practice. They get practice, basically. They'll get the mixing stems. They could do that, use them for their own products, whether it's loop packs or course material, whatever. But then at the end of the chain, I said, at the end of the day, they're selling their time. So I do have to compensate the engineer, the recording engineer, for being there. Now, the artist, what are they going to get? They're going to get a song, a completed song out of this. They're going to get potential photos and social media content. So they're coming here, getting a free product and the marketing for the product. Win, 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 right? As Crispy said. Then you have a photographer who would come to the studio. And I said, how can I incentivize the photographer without paying? I said, okay, the photographer gets a catalog to build their social proof that they actually have people and clients and are in the music business in the music studio, because they're leveraging BusyWorks Beats branding on their work. And on top of that, they're photographing up and coming artists, and they get to potentially build that relationship to where they have a long-term partnership with that artist, potentially. Okay. And then they also get the look of it all. They get to the social proof element. So that was the incentive for the photographer. So I said, okay, the artist, they're going to come to the studio because they get a free song and they get free social marketing. Then I have the engineer who, now that I'm saying it here, they do get a lot of the benefit, which is if they did have a business like education business or a loop pack business, they could use all the loops and all the materials and the music to sell their own loops and loop packs. So that way they don't have to source their own material. Then you have the photographer who comes here for social proof. They're incentivized heavily by that. So basically, I had to figure out a whole business structure to where if money didn't exist, how would these people feel incentivized to contribute? And so that's how I think more of the creative arts works, in my opinion. If I redid my commercial studio, I would run it exactly like that. But at the end of the day, that studio had to produce money, because money keeps the light bill paid, it keeps the whatever else, the content going. All right, so went on the tangent and forgot where I left off. Okay, so next point here says always say less than necessary. Really, that's the same thing as mask your intentions. Court attention at all costs. That's part of what I did to get 1 million subscribers, is I had to embrace the fact that I'm going to trigger, 50,000 people who are not fans of me and never will be a customer, never will do business, in order to reach the 200,000 that I need to talk to get to 1 million. And that's what I did to cross the 1 million mark. I was like, I can't keep doing the same thing. I have to trigger something in some audience so that we polarize. And that's what people aren't willing to sacrifice. When you say sacrifice, it means there's a concept in chemistry. I studied pre-med in Villanova University for 4 years. And I studied organic chemistry, which is like how to build molecules. In organic chemistry, you have something called the covalent bond. And the short of it is that one, I'm forgetting the terms, one element, I'll say, gives up their electrons to another element. Okay, so for example, hydrogen may give up an electron to oxygen. They exchange electrons. So to make this less chemistry talk, in the real world, let's say somebody's in a relationship. A covalent bond would be, okay, I have a car, the other person has a car. It's when you give the other person access to your thing, or you sacrifice something of yourself to the other person. So in this case, it would be the equivalent of me letting the other person ride the car and the other person letting me drive their car. That would be the equivalent of a covalent bond. I'm using something people can understand. But I'm saying all that because that is what creates the actual relationship. So when it says court attention at all costs, you have to realize that you have to be willing to sacrifice the bond with other chemicals and bond with what you need to reach what's called a noble gas. We're getting into the weeds about it all. But basically, every molecule in the universe is seeking equilibrium, balance. Aren't we all? We're trying to seek balance. And so the goal for this is, my point is, seeking attention, it says courting attention at all costs, to me means polarize the people who are free radicals, metaphorically speaking, who will never bond with you. They will never bring balance, so that you can attract, through chemistry, the people who will bring you balance, because they will have a covalent bond with you. You will have equal sacrifice. You give your content to this person, you give value. In return, they give the money to support the business. There's a bonding happening. There's a giving and there's a takingness, but both sides are both giving and taking, and it has to be equal and balanced. So the next principle here says win through action, not argument. Again, that could be debated. It says let others work and take the credit. So this is where, now I don't know if they mean let others work and you take the credit or they take the credit, but I'll tell you, in the music business, how do I explain this? Sorry, I had to clear my throat. So in the music business, yeah, he said, bro, is self-improvement YouTuber right now. Yeah, we're talking about social status right now because social status is the missing key that a lot of people have. There's so many people who are way doper than me at making beats in our Discord. We're about to have a huge beat battle March 15th. There are kids who are 14 who are way better than me, like light years better than me in making beats, but they're not doing good. They're not in business. They're not getting business opportunity, not because they don't know how to make beats. It has nothing to do with the beat making. It has everything to do with the business and the social aspect. So this is the part that, it's hard to teach because you have to really experience it to even understand what I'm talking about. The SSL Alpha has a loopback built in. Oh, so you got some other stuff going on there. There you go. I don't even know what loopback is like to a core level. Sorry, I have a dry throat. I didn't drink water today, so forgive me. But it says, let others work and take the credit. So we're using the 48 laws, not to say again that this is like follow this blueprint. I'm actually saying to understand these because other people operate this way. But long story short, if you have zero money in the music industry, in my opinion, what you should do is give other people the credit. That will make them more proud of what you create. But when you do get money, when you are Dr. Dre, when you are Timbaland, you could pay people flat fees or in percentages or whatever so that you take the credit as the bigger brand, but they still get paid. Now, that's where I think in the music industry, I've seen people take the credit even for the works they haven't created. And so Danger just followed me, for example, on Instagram, Danger Hands. And he's an absolute legend. I'm pretty sure he was the man. And let me look this up on Grok to just triple double check to make sure I'm not speaking incorrectly here. So Danger Hands, producer, which hit songs did he write? Which hit songs did he produce? Now, and was he under Timbaland? Now, people attribute a Timbaland for a lot of his songs that were hits. So before I speak on it, let me let Grok. Okay. It says Floyd Hills, professionally known as Danger, is an American record producer from Virginia Beach. They have something in the water in Virginia. Shout out to Pharrell, Timbaland, Pusha T, all them. From Virginia Beach, Virginia. He began his career as a co-producer, working closely with Timbaland, another Virginia native and renowned producer. Danger's collaborations with Timbaland was pivotal in shaping his early career. So Timbaland's relationship with Timbaland. So in this story of like analogies, Danger Hands is the person with the actual skill. Okay, he's the one with the mastery of the craft. But Timbaland is the social person in this case. He's the one who's, I don't know if y'all remember Timbaland doing that when he played the beat and doing all this. I remember that when it was with Jay-Z. You have to have some kind of enthusiasm and connectivity with people in order for them to transact. This is called resonance. So Timbaland had the resonance to connect with the audience, which was the artist. Danger Hands had the skill of making the actual beat. But without Timbaland, could he have gotten those beats to the artist? I don't know. That's something that they would have to map out. So what I'm saying is Timbaland himself might not have even touched the record, but his name is on a lot of stuff. Okay, so as a Timbaland, when you're getting paid advances of $250,000 or $100,000, whatever these are, of course you can pay a Danger Hands $50,000 and you take the credit because it's $50,000 cash. When else are you gonna get $50,000 cash in the music industry unless you're doing tours or like huge brand deals? Okay, so it says hit songs produced by Danger Hands with Timbaland, co-produced Justin Timberlake's "Sexy Back," "My Love." These are all the hits we know. "What Goes Around Comes Around," "Filthy," Nelly Furtado's "Promiscuous Girl." Wow, he made that. "Say It Right," "Man Eater," Timbaland's "Give It To Me," "The Way I Are," "Scream," Madonna's 4 Minutes, "The Game," "Put You On the Game," "I'm gonna put you on the game," "I'm gonna put you on the game." Let's go. And then solo productions: Britney Spears, Carrie Hilson, Pink, Mariah Carey, Bjork, T.I., DJ Khaled, and Diddy's "Dirty Money" album. All right, so my point in saying that whole story is that it works both ways. In the beginning, if you have no money, you need to give people credit because that's what keeps them working with you. If you do have a bunch of money and you pay somebody cash, you can take the credit because you're investing in the product. you're buying it wholesale basically, and you want to sell it retail. All right, this is a lot of laws. I don't know if we can go through all 48. So hopefully you guys get the concept of, oh, you guys can't even see the screen, my fault. So hopefully you guys get the concept of these 48 laws. Make yourself indispensable. Again, that goes back to Crispy talking about adding value instead of just taking value. Make people come to you. I mentioned that before. Tyrone Sellers is here. He put $9.99 on it. He says, I don't mind the hat. But did you have to have stars on it? Come on, Busy, because a Saints fan. Oh, come on, become a Saints fan. I'm so out of touch with football. Wait, I'm lost. Did the Saints lose or something? But yeah, this hat is kind of fly. I am FON. What up? What up, Michael Vavrika? But yeah, we're going through the 48 laws just to give you guys context of how I perceive this and how to apply it to the music industry. So I already mentioned make people come to you. You have to attract business to you. That's how I got billion-dollar brands to work with me. So for example, I'm a perfect example of somebody you want to emulate as far as online business and social, because how is it that I even talk to professional producers and have these huge, I'm gonna just go through all the social proof stuff real quick. So if you don't know me, I'm Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. Let me say it again because I wasn't full screen. If you guys don't know me, I'm Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. We train over 1 million producers around the world. Some have gone to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, French Montana, Young Thug, Polo G, Trippie Redd, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, a long list of other folks that I constantly keep forgetting. I've worked with 4 billion-dollar brands, Sweetwater, $1 billion brand, Avid, who makes Pro Tools, $1 billion brand, Razer Music, who makes laptops and peripherals, $1 billion brand. The Near Protocol, which is in Web3, or some people say crypto, $1 billion brand. Okay, so, when you have that much experience and when you have, like I said earlier, Teddy Riley connected with you, not even on Instagram, but also in the messaging me. And I'm so honored that he even reached out, because I found out the reason I love music is Teddy Riley. He was behind the Michael Jackson sound that I love. He was behind the New Jack Swing era sound that I found out from GTA San Andreas. He was literally behind everything I love about music. And now he's connected with me. Not saying we text and call all the time, but he had a deep respect for me and I had a deep respect for him. It was mutual. The Metro Boomin. Follow me both on Twitter and Instagram. Now, do I have Metro Boomin's personal phone number? No. I don't reach out like that. But Metro Boomin's on a run right now. But he acknowledged me. He said, let me pull up the actual picture. Why am I sitting here describing this? I could just show you guys the picture here. Give me a sec. But yeah, Metro Boomin said, love, bro, I've always been a fan. The work you do for the community is monumental. So shout out to Metro. Everybody loves Metro. I don't know one person who does not love Metro Boomin. He's one exception as to, I don't know how so many people love Metro without any hate. He's just loved by everybody I know. Illmind says, a lot of good stuff on YouTube, but Busy Works Beats and Simon Servita are my favorites at the moment. Shout out to Illmind. And then Rodney Jerkins, years ago, back in 2015, when I first started making music and tutorials when I first started, he gave me a lot of encouragement. And he said, yes, sir, keep teaching this new generation. Information and knowledge is the next currency. So these are heavy, heavy, heavy hitters. And you guys could go to Instagram right now and just look at the mutual follows. I'm connected with a lot of people who are really at the top of their game in the industry. It doesn't mean I can hit them up about anything, but it just means, how did I get there if I'm not in their ecosystem of stuff? If I'm not chasing placements, if I'm not in the studios with them, how is it that Busy Works Beats is on this, I'll say level with them? It's because I added value to an audience. I did it over and over and over again. And I don't need anything from those people. And that's why they have me in their network, is because I don't need them. Really think about that. I don't need them. I don't need them for opportunity. I don't need them to add anything to my life. I don't need their money. I don't need their connections. It'd be nice to have some of those connections, but I'm saying I don't need them, and they feel like I don't need them. And the reason that's important is because when people feel that you're needy and desperate, they feel pressure to where it's they don't see the value that you may even have added because you're desperate, to where it feels like they're giving more in the balance than they're getting in return. And that goes back to, what was it? Which principle was that? Forgot which principle it was, but I talked about it earlier, where there has to be a balance. When I was talking about chemistry, it has to be a givingness and a takingness. No, Crispy's the GOAT. And so when people feel desperation or like they're people are too needy, it means they're pulling too much from you. Like there's a Bible principle about this. When Jesus was walking somewhere and then he said he felt the lady touch the tip of his robe. What he's saying is like somebody is trying to drain him of his energy because the lady in the story was so needy to be healed. I think it was, or something like that. So yeah, my point is that's the concept. Okay. This really says stay away from losers. Is that really a 48 law of power? Stay away from losers? Man, that's tough. Feign honesty and generosity. I don't know what feign means. Can't even tell you what that means. Appeal to selfishness, not virtue. I mean, we can go through all 48 of these. It might be boring. But basically in business, you have to focus on what the other person wants. Everybody's selfish. There's no person who just does this off the strength. Like everybody has and replace the word selfish with self-intent, or I should say, what's a better word for selfish? Like an outcome that they desire. So it's not that people are like trying to harm you. It's just that they have a specific outcome that they expect. Sahil says connections with less expectations. I wouldn't even say, I don't want to, how do I say this? You guys can have expectations for your business relationships. For example, if I was to go out to, reach out to all these top audio companies, like to sponsor the Beat Battle, which I've been doing, I do have an expectation for them to be a sponsor. I have an expectation for them to at least help us promote this event. I have an expectation for them to deliver a prize of some sort. I have an expectation for them to just, be willing to create a symbiotic relationship. So there is an expectation when I'm going to these brands. But in return, I'm offering content marketing campaigns, which could cost them $50,000 if they were to pay Facebook. I'm giving them access to a community where I built a bond over what we made this Discord back in 2022. It's been 2 years now. And we've been doing live streams for years. But I'm saying since the Discord, we had a 2-year relationship, like hardcore, adding value to people for 2 years straight. And these companies don't have that same relationship. So yeah, I'm giving these things that they don't even have and can't get. So that's something that I'm giving, but in return, I'm expecting, the equal and opposite. And in fact, I would say the equal and opposite isn't even truly an equal and opposite. That's the least I could ask for, is them to give a prize. The least I could ask for is for them to share this to the social media. The least I can ask for is to do brand integrations, because I could be charging $50,000 for these campaigns. But they don't understand that. They think that content creators are just optional. Like we are the new ad distribution. Neither here nor there. Folks need to quit hating on Busy. I mean, they can hate all they want to. I know they're bored. I'll be the person. You know what I realized? I was walking outside and I came up with this catchphrase. I was like, let me pull it up on Twitter. Actually, it's pretty dope. It just clicked in my mind one day. I was walking around my neighborhood and it just hit me. Let me pull up the tweet real quick. I said, where is it at? Okay, here it is. I said, you're always a villain to somebody because in their story, they're the hero. And I know that sounds poetic, but if you think about it, let me say it again. You're always a villain to somebody because in their story, they have to be the hero. Everybody wants to be their own main character. And in any movie, any story, they want to be the savior. And so in order for a savior to exist, there has to be a villain. So I said, you're at least the villain in somebody's story by default, because everybody thinks they're the hero. And so once I embraced that, I really said, I don't need to be everybody's hero. Like, you really have to embrace being somebody's villain. Like, you just have to be like, I'm playing a role today and it's my villain hat. I'll be the villain for Weaver Beats' audience. Sure. They're going to end up flipping anyway because they realize they need value and not just, laughing at a screen about random stuff. So that's how I look at it. Sure, there's villains in history. Like, think about this. I'm not glorifying these people, but think about the most known people in the world. Let me actually pull up a list. Most known people in the world. Or no, I'll put in history actually. Hold on. We're going to pull up a list. Okay, 100 most significant figures in history. Now, this ties to social because you guys need to understand your identity as that person. So, for example, the most known person in all of history is Jesus. Why? Because he was embedded into the indoctrination of religion. He's the hero of the story. He went through all the, it's called the hero's journey. Okay. And this was given to everybody as their default programming in America, at least, and apparently worldwide. Next up is the 100 most significant figures in history is Napoleon. Now, to the people who are on Napoleon's side, he's a victor, he's a hero. But what about all the people Napoleon slayed? What about all the families he destroyed? Nobody talks about that side. Let me clear my throat real quick. In order for Napoleon to conquer all that land, he had to displace people, didn't he? So why do we look at Napoleon as a hero figure when he's also the villain at the same exact time? Muhammad is known. We have William Shakespeare. I'm not sure he had ops, but the way he proliferated was through his, let me say it this way. When I tried to learn astrology, it was too complicated. It was too much like free reign, basically. My cousin studies astrology on a way deeper level than me. I barely study it anymore. And I'm saying this to say, I realize the importance of religion is to give people symbols, because those symbols help us understand these higher concepts. Like, for example, when you understand the 12 archetypes of people by Carl Jung, you understand why there's 12 disciples, why there's 12 zodiac signs, why there's 12 hours in a day, 12 months. You start to realize it's because we need to personify things in order to comprehend it. That's part of being human, is to look at stuff like us. So even with, my son learns a lot of stuff. Now, instead of showing him an avocado, like a picture of an avocado, say that's an avocado, they might put an avocado with eyes and a mouth. It's because they're personifying the avocado. Even in the story of Jesus, for example, and this is the part that people miss in their business. They don't personify. They make beats, they never personify. The reason Jesus was so important, in my opinion, is because he said two words, Jesus wept. Or excuse me, there were two words in the Bible, Jesus wept. It was a 2-word sentence. I was like, how's that a sentence? It's 2 words. It blew my mind, but it was so powerful. What it meant was a godlike figure did a human-like thing. So a godlike figure that's way up here reconciled with this humanness that cried. So it connects the human to the godlike figure in 2 words, Jesus wept. And so what it's told me is that a godlike figure has to personify in order to resonate with the audience that's listening to this story. And so a lot of people don't personify. And so William Shakespeare, in my opinion, helped us understand those archetypes of people that help us understand everything from avocados to video game characters to understanding what a villain is from a hero. You have to have these archetypal containers to comprehend your moving world, because if you don't give a definition to the world, everything just means everything. Quite literally, we get into what's called the metaphysics or the quantum physics, where it's a bipolar determination. Now we're getting just too deep with it. Abraham Lincoln, was he a good guy to the black folks because he freed the slaves, or was he a bad guy because he truly didn't want to free the slaves? He did it just to get leverage in the war. Like, you know what I mean? Everybody has a dichotomy. Jesus even had a dichotomy. To his followers, he was the son of God. To the Pharisees and to the people of that land who were of that religion, they hated the guy. They killed him. So everybody has this dichotomy of this good and bad. And so that's why when I put this tweet out, you're always a villain to somebody, because in their story, they're the hero. Like, you just have to embrace that you are the dichotomy. Because in the beginning, we are doing this because we feel like we change people's lives. And over time, once you change enough people's lives, you're going to get so big in your influence around the world that people will start to not like you just because you have a big following. It's kind of crazy, but I get it. And you have to shift your mindset from, you'll start to try to deny the fact that people don't like you. And you'll resist until you just face the fact that people they're never going to like you. Okay. But you have to really, truly embrace that. Anyhow. Let me give you guys a couple more social things, and then how long have we been live here? An hour and 40. So I got about 16 minutes of gems I'll give you guys. So I wrote a book called it's called Game Time. I'll give you guys some game from Game Time. Give me a sec. Google Docs. I'll pull up the Google Doc real quick. The original. So the whole point of Game Time was to help you guys prepare yourself against the incoming AI wave. So I wrote this December 16th, 2024. Here's the book. It could be formatted better, but I was doing too much at that time. So it covers the lock-in process. Like, what does it truly mean to lock in? What does it truly mean to get focus, to dedicate yourself, to commit, to make a decision? Decision means to cut. Day means of. Decision means cut. It means of cut. So when you make a decision, you have to cut something out of your existing routine or your existing life in order to commit to something. And that goes back to sacrifice. Sacrifice does not just mean you're saying you're going to do something. It means you actually give up something of yourself to the opposite party, and vice versa. Okay. So it says, find your tribe. So let me go to this section here, because this is the part where I cover the psychological principles. Let's just skip to that part. Just give you guys some gems real quick. Again, this book is completely free. If you want it for free, I think I have the webpage set up. If you guys go to busyworksbeats.com/book, you can get this stuff for free. But I would love to give it away with crispy stuff, so I add value to them. busyworksbeats.com/book. All right, so let me get to my principle section here where I map out the principles. So I'll give you guys the short. If you want to build a tribe, so this is about social mastery. What is social mastery? It's taking yourself, duplicating yourself through another body, another entity, so that you have influence to increase what's called your force multiplier, so that you can increase your workforce, so that you can output more power, because power equals work over time. What is work? Work equals force times the distance. Okay, what is force? Force equals a mass times acceleration. So in order to gain more power, more influence, more expansion, you have to have other people act with you over time with the same intent and same goal. That's what corporations are all about. You are the cell in a corporation, a body of people. Okay, all with one intent: to keep that body, metaphorical body, alive and keep it thriving and expanding. So the same thing with your tribe on social media. You have to learn how to take yourself, duplicate yourself through teaching and through influence, so that the next person takes the same actions. So now you, instead of your 1 times action, you have a 2 times action. That's called a force multiplier. Okay, so I've grown the Discord to over 100,000. I think we're at 116,000 members. And we have a very large email list as well. And the YouTube's over 1 million subscribers. Okay, and all my socials are, I can't say all, because I think Facebook's at 200,000, and I think TikTok's somewhere around 80,000 followers with 4 million views. And then Instagram is, I think, at 174,000. I think it's like 22 million views or something on Instagram. I can't remember all the numbers. It's all spread across. Anyhow, to build a tribe, you have to have what's called a creation story. So I'm going to tie this to the Bible, because this is something these are the symbols that people can comprehend. So in the Bible, for example, the story was Adam and Eve, okay? And that's a creation story of how the world came to be, because everybody needs a definition for a key word. Basically the way our brain works is it's like a dictionary. You have a key and a value. The key is the word you're looking up. So if I said, what does the word lexicon mean? That's a key. Now the value is the definition you give to that specific word. Okay, so in life, the way we learn, the way we communicate, the way we exist is we have to have definitions for things. Like, for example, if I look at a crow in the sky and I think it's a demon flying around, I see it as a threat, and I'll take actions to get rid of the threat, whether throwing rocks at it or trying to kill it or just trying to stay away from it and run away. We see it as a threat. But what if I looked at a crow and said, look at that beautiful creature God created? Because I have a different definition for what a crow is in my dictionary. Then I'm going to, look at the crow, paint pictures of the crow, try to feed the crow. You have a different action set based on how you define things. And so the creation story gives people the core definition as to how your corporation, the body of people, came to be. You have to give it a definition. There's something called the creed, and the creed is a set of beliefs. So in the biblical stories, this would be your 10 commandments, for example. Technically, there's way more than 10, but to be short, there's 10 commandments. Sorry, my throat is so dry. And these belief systems and values, let me make sure my mic's still not muted. Okay, cool. And the creed is important because this is how you find like minds to resonate with. This is what creates what's called in-group, out-group dynamic. Whenever you create a corporation or a body, you know, for example, you have a living human body, okay, a cell, let's say, but then you have a cancer cell. It's an out group, okay? It's a polarity of what a good quote unquote cell is, okay? So the same thing with your corporation, which is a body of people. You have the members, which are cells. You have your following, which are cells. And then you have counter cells or cancerous cells, we'll say, which are the polarity of your cells. And so that's called in-group versus out-group. And the way you create in-group versus out-group is called the creed, the set of beliefs that are the core fundamental values of your people. And this is what people go to church for, is because they know that everybody in that church, we all share the same mission or the same focus or the same value set, to where now we don't have to worry about each other because we're on the same vibe and we're all building for the same thing. So now I can talk to you about the next thing because I don't have to worry about the foundation of the house. I know the house has a solid foundation. Now I can worry about building the walls and building the roof. Okay, nextly, tribes need icons. The reason we need icons is this. When you guys go to war, for example, you don't want to do friendly fire. And so the reason armies have badges and all these like flags and everything is so you don't shoot your own teammate and kill them. And so that's why icons are important. It's because icons are symbols to represent the identity for a specific participant in a community. So if somebody sees me out with my Beatmaker shirt, they know that I'm a fan of Producer Grind. Chances are I'm a beatmaker. If they see me outside with a red hat that says MAGA on it, they know I'm probably a Trump supporter. I don't have a MAGA hat, I'm just saying. But if I had a red hat that said MAGA on it, or Make America Great Again, I should say, they would know that my values tie to their values, which is they might be fans of Trump, fans of Elon, or whoever, and they might be on that Republican type of energy. So they know, okay, there's my fellow so-and-so, and they know how to treat you and have an action set built for you. Now, what's the opposite of that? The outgroup. The outgroup says anybody with a red hat, those are the enemies, because they believe Trump, they believe Elon, they believe in the Nazi Sig Heiling guy, they believe in this. And so what do? They see that person as a threat, and they have pre-built action sets for the threat, whether that's to spray paint their Cybertruck, sabotage their store. They've done crazy things, but it's all about in-group and out-group dynamics. So if you guys are building communities with your following, understanding these social things, this is how you multiply yourself. This is what I'm teaching you. Nextly is a ritual. Now, what is a ritual? I'm going to use real world scenarios here. A ritual would be us going live every Friday for song feedback. It's a repetitive routine that people can trust in. Routine builds trust. When you guys are in a relationship, it's about routine, because routine helps you understand the normalcy, the normal behavior. Okay, so that when something is outside of that routine, that's not normal behavior. Therefore, it's risky. It's a threat. It's in-group versus out-group. The in-group is, I know you're going to eat this at this time. I know you're going to be here at this time. You do this every day. You go to work, you travel however much time to work every single day. Anytime you spend more than that amount of time traveling from work, now that's out of group behavior. Okay, so you set the normalcy in your social behavior through what are called rituals. Now, rituals to us would be going live, for example, every Friday for song feedback, or going live every Monday for beat battles. That's a ritual. We do it every single week. It's like when people go to church, that's a ritual. Just showing up every Sunday, that's a ritual. Okay, so it says the sacred words, aka the lexicon. So lexicon is like an insider language that you want to create with your audience. This would be equivalent to, when I say like, what's up, flamly? As a joke, any F word that starts with F, I add an L right after it. So I'll be like, you flail me? What's up, flamly? That's like an insider joke for, pardon me, people who use FL Studio. And that's called lexicon, insider language, so that when I use this lexicon, I can communicate with people in the group, and I know who's not inside the group because they don't even know the lexicon. So it all comes down to in-group, out-group dynamic, and lexicon is super important for that. Now, also lexicon can be a meme. It doesn't have to be words. It could be symbols. It could be a meme as well. For example, any meme coins out. Let me get something to drink. Hold on. All right, sorry, y'all. After talking for a while, it starts to add up. I apologize for any bad sounds in the mic. So again, we talked about this. Every group needs what are called the non-believers, because in order to have a group, in order to create a circle, you have to have the opposite, which is outside of the circle. What makes it exclusive if everybody's invited? So every group needs a dynamic of non-believers. I talked about this earlier when I said how in order to get to that million, I had to be willing to sacrifice the 50,000 people from Weaver's audience because they will never buy anything. They're never going to identify with our values. They're never going to be supportive and contributive. So I said, why am I chasing their approval? I need to sacrifice them to get to the people I need to get to. So in this case, they are the non-believers, we'll say. They will never do business with us. They will never like us. Stop trying to make them like you. Okay. And so those are called the non-believers. And every group needs what's called a common enemy so that you can identify the polarity, a reason to even be in the group, an identity of the group. Nextly, every group needs a leader. That's your position as an artist, as a music producer. They need a leader to follow. You need to guide them to their desired outcomes. Those desired outcomes are health, wealth, social status, power, or mastery of a craft. I focus on mastery of a craft, okay? But when you get mastery of a craft, you get social status. And when you get enough social status, you get power. And when you get power, you get the ability to mate. So therefore, that gives you health, which is called fitness of genes. Now, wealth comes from your ability to use your social status, in my opinion, and your mastery. Okay, so nextly, where are we at here? The leaders, affinity groups. Again, these are just what I talked about, those circles. You need to have a resonant point. Like, for example, if you eat sugar right now, your cells have to have what are called receptors in order to receive the glucose that's in your blood. If your cells don't have the receptors for glucose, that means the cells can't absorb the glucose and metabolize it, which means the glucose is now going around your bloodstream unprocessed. And that's what leads to health issues, is when your cells have what's called glucose intolerance or insulin resistance is what I meant to say. Because insulin helps the cells absorb your glucose. So if your cells are, let me make sure I'm saying this right. Let me get Grok to reword what I'm trying to say. I would say, does insulin help cells absorb glucose? All right, here's the definition for insulin. It says, yes, insulin plays a critical role in helping cells absorb glucose. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas that regulates your blood sugar levels. When you eat, your blood glucose levels rise, prompting the pancreas to release insulin. Insulin acts like a key that allows glucose to enter the cells. It's particularly muscle, fat, and liver cells. It does this by binding to receptors on the cell surface, which triggers the movement of glucose transporters to the cell membrane. These transporters then facilitate the uptake of glucose from the bloodstream into the cell. So basically, you want to get the glucose out of your blood into the cell so that the cell can process the glucose. If the cell can't absorb it with the receptors, then the glucose is just floating around doing its own thing, which is not a good thing. And so my point saying all that is you need to have affinity groups because these are the receptors. That's called resonance. What up, Chief? And Baby Smoke? I recommend you guys do. I mean, nowadays everything's digital presence. But I just went to a fair to get this hat, for example. And there was like thousands of people there, but I'm not sure it's much of an online platform. So some things don't necessarily have to be online, but and nowadays to compete against AI, you kind of have to have a digital presence. Lastly, share transformation. So here's your testimonials. Like in church, when people say I have a testimony, it's the same thing. It's social proof to say that this teaching has transformed my life. Now, this next section in my book called Game Time, I'll be quick about this because it's too much to explain. But I warn people in my book. I said, do not use this next section to manipulate anyone for selfish intent. I said, do not use this next section for selfish gain, malicious intent, or to hurt anyone. The next section contains esoteric psychological tools leaders use to stay in power within the tribe. Do not use these tools for selfish intent. I said it like 5 times. And so the reason I'm saying that is because these are extremely powerful things that can be used for both good and evil. The hero and the villain can use these. And that's why you got to be careful teaching this, because that's why I waited I waited a good 2 hours to teach this, because now the dedicated people are here. We have 36 people here. Now you 36 people are going to have stuff that took me years of time to figure out. Okay. So here we have and again, my book covers this way more in depth, but this is a principle taught by Robert Cialdini, who has a book called Influence, which I recommend you guys read or get the audiobook of. And it's the power of scarcity. So the way our human brains are made, I'll just be short because it's a lot to read. The way our human brains are made is that we are still operating out of survival most of the time. We have 3 different main sections of our brain. And some people call it the reptilian brain or the monkey brain. That's the one that triggers when we see scarcity, because if this were times without the internet, without all these modern societies, we would have to literally get that rabbit and hunt the rabbit now, because if we don't see another rabbit for 2 days, we might not have food to eat. And now we're, potentially risking the life of our tribe if we don't hunt right now, because that rabbit's right there. Okay, so that's called the power of scarcity, is our brain being wired for survival, which is the first most primal layer of how we operate. And sometimes operating out of survival is not a good thing. So that's where it comes from, to be short about it. But people can manipulate that using, hey, we only have 10 of these left, or we only have X amount of time left, or I'm only in town for 3 days, or I'm only, it's called scarcity. Okay, we want to limit the quantity. That's why Bitcoin is so popular. It's because there's only 21 or 22 million Bitcoin that will ever be printed. There's a limited quantity. And as you guys know, that if supply is higher than demand, the price is low. If demand is higher than supply, then we have price going up. Simple as that. Prom Matt says, great talk, bro, really enlightening. But yeah, thank you. And that's what makes Bitcoin appealing, is because it has an actual limited finite through what are called immutable tables and immutable data. In Bitcoin, you can't change the code. You can't, or whatever it is. It's for real limited. It's a digital good that actually has a finite limit to it. That's what makes Bitcoin valuable. It's harder than gold, because gold, they keep discovering gold. You just saw that there's an article about some country just discovered gold in their river. So if gold keeps increasing in supply, we have to make sure demand keeps superseding the supply. Even diamonds. It's like diamonds are seen as this rare thing, but they keep finding more and more and more diamonds. Now there's lab grown diamonds. So what makes it truly rare if I could just produce it in a lab? That's why it's called store of money. Okay. Or store of value, pardon me. There's different functions for money. There's currency. That's like, I need something I could trade you, but I also need to store the value of something, meaning, okay, I've worked 50 years of my life. I've created this much value for the society. That's how much I'm worth. Okay. That's called store of value. Okay. Anyway, we're going too deep into finance stuff. I talked about this before, but Outgroup Demonization by Henry Tajfel. This is basically common enemy. And again, in order to have an identity, you have to produce the opposite of your identity, the hero and the villain. There's something called mimetic desire by Rene Girard. He says something so great one time on a YouTube video. He was like, the definition of desire means to see somebody else desiring something. And it blew my mind, because I really had to sit there and think. Now, what I didn't understand at that time was mimetic behavior. Mimetic behavior is when you see somebody do something and you do the exact same thing. It's how kids learn, for example. Kids learn by watching you do stuff. Doesn't matter what you tell them, they just copy exactly what you do. Okay, so mimetic behavior is how we're all built, to mirror what we see. That's why we see people wearing certain dresses. That's why we see guys wearing the little earring that goes down with the cross on it. I don't know who created that trend or who even created the trend of dudes wearing pearls, but at some point, the agenda machine pushed that out in mass so that you were indoctrinated to that, so that you would mime the behavior of what you see. Those are the seeds planted into your subconscious mind so that you duplicate the behavior. And that's called social conditioning. And they are tapping into what's called the mimetic behavior of humans. And something Rene Girard exposed was that humans desire what other people desire. And so that's why when you guys see ads, for example, you'll see a cologne ad where you can't smell the cologne through the TV. So what they do to sell cologne is they'll spray it on a celebrity man, and then the celebrity man has, an attractive woman following him around or like seeking his attention or whatever it is, because they want you to associate when you spray that cologne on you, you will attract your mate. Okay, and they want you to try to mirror what you just saw from the commercial, which is I spray this cologne, I too shall get a girl to just follow me around. That's called mimetic desire. People see the girl wanting the guy, and now they know, if I want that same result, I now have to get that cologne, for example. Okay, so next up is called the halo effect. This is from Edward Thorndike, and it says, leaders cultivate blind loyalty and admiration when tribe members generalize one positive trait about the leader, like a leader's confidence. So the halo effect is when people see the good in somebody, but they don't acknowledge the negative. Like I said here, on the world's list of top people remembered in history, you could, I'm sure some people love Napoleon, but what about all the people and families he destroyed? Why do we never talk about that? Abraham Lincoln, same thing. It's like he freed the slaves, but was it his intent to free the slaves? Even when he freed the slaves, what about Jim Crow? What about sharecropping? That still existed. So there was still slavery. It didn't not exist. It still existed. It just wasn't torturous, abusive slavery, the way people understood it. So yeah. So the halo effect is when people see the good and that outshines the bad. I think there's a Bible verse somewhere, and I'm probably super off on this. I haven't read it in a long time, but it said actually, I don't even want to say it said, but I think from what I remember, it said a man's good deeds can outperform the negativity he created. Something like that. Let me see if Grok knows. Let me ask Grok. Grok, good old Grok. I'm going to say in the Bible, it may or may not pull it up. What's the verse or section that says a man's good deeds can outweigh his negative deeds? Let's see what this says. I could be way off. It says the Bible doesn't contain this. So I don't know where I heard this or that's why I said, I don't know the exact reference. According to Grok, it says the Bible doesn't contain a specific verse or section that explicitly states a man's good deeds can outweigh his negative deeds in a transactional or scales of justice sense. The concept is more aligned with certain human interpretations of religious tradition. Okay, so this is biblical perspective on good deeds. So I'm wrong. Okay, so it says it says good deeds alone don't cancel sin according to the Bible. The Bible teaches that all humans are sinful and fall short of God's standard. Good deeds are encouraged, but they don't erase or outweigh sin in terms of earning salvation or righteousness. Salvation is a gift of grace through faith. Okay, so the Bible emphasizes the Bible emphasizes repentance and God's forgiveness rather than balancing act of good deeds and bad deeds. Okay, I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere though, because it had to be from some kind of Bible. We want a course for music theory for free. Here's something I had to, because you guys will have customers asking you for stuff for free too. What's up, Evan? But here's what I had to realize is that me giving stuff out for free does not actually help. Now, I can give stuff out for free. That's called alms. So if I had a field, for example, let's say I have a farm and I grow corn. Now, I have workers that go into the field and they they harvest the corn, okay? And they get the corn crops and they bring them back. Now, I'll tell my workers, hey, workers, don't take everything in the field. Leave some for the poor folks. That's called alms. What they used to do back in the day, they would leave the edges of their farm fields for the poor folks. and they would let any corn that they would drop in the field, they would let the poor people come and go grab it and pick it up. And so that was their way of giving to the poor. But something I had to realize is that I still have workers. Everybody in the field is not poor. And they're not poor because they're adding value to the system. So for example, the field is the business. Okay, the cornfield is the business. The products are the corn. And so I have employees on my team who create value by going out there and harvesting the corn to bring it back to the farm so that we can eat, so that we can sell the corn and make a whole business out of it. Now, those people get to go home with food. They get to go home with, their wage for the day. They take that wage and they have their own farm and they do the same thing. So we're multiplying the farm by creating value with each other. Whereas the poor folk, and I don't mean this in a negative way, they don't have the farm. So when they take the corn, we can't multiply. And so something I had to realize is that when I give out my free teaching, that's great for the people who just want to get to know me and, who can't afford my services or my courses. But I made sure that I gave out a ton of stuff, 6,000 free videos on almost every concept of music production you could think of in FL Studio. However, I have paid products, and those paid products are so that when a young Chambers learns my music theory, he can go build his own business where he has music theory, which he does. Young Chambers on YouTube. Now he could teach his own style of music theory and have his own business. He can create his own field. Okay, so if I'm creating businesses and real world application, I'm multiplying myself basically. And so I think there's a fee for multiplying yourself because the energy has to come back to the body, less it will drain from the main source. It goes back to the symbiotic relationship. There's a givingness, there's a takingness. It has to balance. If there's no balance, if I'm only giving, and there's no getting, then I'd actually exhaust. And there would be no more giving. And therefore, that person would actually have a lesser chance of survival because they don't know the next steps. And now you actually caused death by trying to give too much for free. And that's how I had to look at giving is it's good to give, but when everything is free, it does not help the other party. Okay, so I had to realize I'm actually doing a disservice sometimes by giving everything for free. There's a verse that says God is not a respecter of persons, pretty much saying people aren't respected by God, ego actions, but what is respected is their mind. Sorry with the quotes. Unlimited says, my brother, where can I find serum for free? I don't think there is a serum for free. Yeah, I don't have the farm. I can't buy serum. People recommend Vital, but I don't like Vital like that. But that's the alternative. It's Acts 10:34. Oh, he got the quote ready. I only use BandLab to make beats. I don't have anything else. That's a pretty good program. Sorry, y'all, my nose is all stuffed up because I didn't drink my water today. Okay, let me just finish this piece and then we'll probably be out of here. So the halo effect, again, by Edward Thorndike, about seeing the good in people, which overshadows their flaw. Then we have what's called paternalistic protectionism by John Bowlby. And this one I got to read myself because I don't recall this off the top of my head. So paternal means parent, parental. It says, inspired by attachment theory, leaders position themselves as parents over their tribal children. Okay, so yeah, what most people seek is confidence, approval, and a father figure. And that's what they're really seeking. Because they feel like success is a journey. And if they're not blessed to go on a journey by their father figure, they feel like they're not entitled to whatever comes from that. So most boys out here are actually seeking a father figure to approve their success so that they feel like they're not guilty for pursuing something. Ritualized fear bonding by Victor Turner says tribal leaders use shared intense experiences to bond their tribes. Some leaders even use fear-based rituals to create a sense of vulnerability. Think religious ritual ceremonies. So again, this is kind of hard to teach because you would have to see a ceremony itself. That one I'm going to have to revisit a different time with examples. I can't freestyle an example off the top of my head. The illusions of choice. This one's really good. So for example, I used to teach this to the women folk who wanted their men to dress more appropriate. So instead of trying to tell a man what to dress, like wear this to the event, you go, hey, partner, I picked this and this for you, outfit 1 and outfit 2. Which one would you like to choose? It's the illusion of choice, because now the person either picks A or B. They're not going to pick C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K. Okay. And so when you present choices, it locks people to 2 defined outcomes that you want in your favor. They're both in your favor. So it doesn't matter which one you choose, it's still in your favor. So the illusion of choice is the same exact thing. Limiting people's choice is usually more helpful than not helpful, especially with website design even. All right, we're going to go through these kind of quick because there's a lot more than I remember. Sacred Symbolism and Totems by Emil Durkheim. Some tribal leaders incorporate symbols deriving from the use of sigils and magic rituals. Sigils is basically a symbol you make to represent a goal. So sigils are symbols created with the intent to represent a desired outcome. This sigil is then burned in a symbolic ritual to represent the implanting of the created symbol into the subconscious mind. So yeah, it's more magic and that type of stuff. Symbols are used to identify the mutual outcomes of the tribe. So that's why I said earlier how, appreciate you, Unlimited. That's why I said earlier how religion is really a system of symbols so that we can understand the greater concept. A lot of Bible stories, people could take it literal, but if you read the Bible story, oh, it's teaching me how to give, or it's teaching me how to employ people, or it's a greater lesson at hand. The symbol is the Bible story, or the symbol is the person, or the archetype, or the character, whatever. They're just a symbol. Like a dove means peace or grace. A symbol would be an eagle represents freedom, independence. A star represents independence as well. There's certain, I think my son's gearing up. Can't tell. But symbols are very important because they give the definition for something. And without, for example, the reason music is so influential around the globe is because I don't need to speak Japanese. I don't need to speak Mandarin to understand that their music is fire. The music is fire. I know it's fire. I don't know what they're saying, but it's fire. I don't need to speak the language to know that. So that's what symbols are for. It's to communicate a message throughout time, even to people who aren't even on the earth yet. Social Proof and Herd Mentality. So this is fundamentally by Muzafer Sharif and Solomon Ash. Tribal leaders amplify compliance within the group by encouraging followers to mimic group behavior. So again, it's more so social norms. We talked about that earlier. This lowers the social resistance to command and eases social pressure. So basically, you can get people to move in a certain way if you make it the norm. For example, if you go to church wearing a bikini, they're going to look at you crazy. If you go to the beach wearing a bikini, you're now in a different environment where they encourage those things. TaylorMade says, yo, salute game. I invited this guy to your beat battle that makes beats on BandLab. I'm telling you, it's a great platform. Shout out to you. Thank you for inviting him, firstly. And secondly, BandLab beats. Let's see how it turns out. It's going to be fire. Yeah, this Friday, March 15th. I believe it's Friday. What day is the 15th, actually? Hold on. Let me see here. Give me a second here. So the 15th is actually a Saturday, so I stand corrected. So March 15th, I thought I said it for the 14th. Okay, so it's a Saturday, March 15th. We're going to do the beat battle. And yes, that is the day. So come join us on Discord. Links pinned to the chat. It's discord.gg/busyworksbeats. It's going to be our biggest beat battle yet. Sorry, I don't mean to clear my nose in the mic. I'm so sorry. Yeah, there's going to be a big battle March 15th in our Discord. We're going to go live on YouTube too, so it will be broadcasted. Unlimited says, to be honest, for me, you're the best YouTube tutorial dude because you show in depth how to do stuff. I've learned so much from you. Thank you. Thank you, dog. I'm going to screenshot that. I'm going to put that on Instagram. I appreciate you, Unlimited. Thank you. So there's so many principles here. I'll just read them off because it's too much to teach right now. Myth making and selective storytelling, social proof and herd mentality, the chosen one phenomenon, again, goes back to the hero story. Back in the day, kings used to be called God kings because or divine kings because they were seen as a God's representative on earth. And who questions God? So if your king is sent by God, then you're not going to question the king, and therefore the king has more rulership and authority over your behavior. And that's how they used to rule their kingdoms back in the day. So that's called the chosen one phenomenon. Also, too, you could think about the Messiah phenomenon, which is Jesus, the Messiah, the king of, that type of thing. Empathy. Some leaders use empathy not as a way to learn their audience, but more so to actually create selfish intent. So it's when they're like, yeah, man, I did go through that in the industry. Yeah, I did go through that. Let me show you. And then they guide you in a way to where you think they're going to the right place, but they actually use it as a negative influence. Anyhow, heightened urgency and manufactured crisis. You'll see this a lot in political areas where if an incumbent wants to stay in power, what they'll do is they'll start a war to stay in power, because people would rather the leader that they understand lead them through a war than get a new leader in the time of war. Okay, so a lot of American leaders have done this over time, and that's called manufactured crisis. Okay, weaponizing insecurities and doubts. People do this all the time in church. You see it everywhere. I don't want to demonize church, but basically just fear mongering. Survivorship bias. Leaders highlight successes while ignoring the failures. Okay, so creating an aura of invincibility that draws followers. So this would be your 50 Cent story, for example. Got shot 9 times, kept going, get rich or die trying type of thing. So it's called survivorship bias. 50 Cent mapped that out perfectly. The allure of hierarchy and social order. So even in our Discord, we have a social order. There's, me, the owner of the Discord. There's our top dogs. They basically are the highest rank currently in the Discord. There's only 72 out of 115,000 of them because they're the best beat battlers on the planet Earth. And there's only 72 out of 115,000. Okay. And there's a social hierarchy to it. So if you guys want to be good at beat battles, you want to become a top dog. There's a ladder to go through. And the highest level that we're going to introduce at the beat battle on March 15th is called the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut is unstoppable. If you win this beat battle on March 15th, you are going to be crowned what's called the Juggernaut. And the Juggernaut is the highest rank in all of our Discord, excluding myself, but you know what I mean? They are the highest rank, the 1 out of 116,000. So you have to have a social hierarchy if you want to build a group of people, because they would need to feel like they're contributing and moving toward a higher cause. How can you sign up? All you have to do is just join our Discord and we'll go live on March 15th. What's the best way to get your beats out there? Rewatch this video a couple times and you'll start to grasp. You just out a book. What? You just put out a book called it the Audio Bible. Is there a part about any 808s cutting through? That book is more about the technical physics than it is about like, here's how you mix your 808s. So I wouldn't say that book is good for that. But you want to study what's called harmonics. If you want your 808 to stand out, look at the second harmonic. Just study those words and you'll get used to it. Okay, so nextly, to keep your tribe together in the social climate, you have certain things called obfuscation and mystique. This is by Sigmund Freud. Basically, tribal leaders may lower their accessibility to the tribe. Anytime somebody's super accessible, they're seen as a parallel or lateral peer, meaning that they're on the same level as you. Therefore, you're not higher than them. You're not superior. There's nothing to follow because you're not above them. You're not leading them anywhere. They don't perceive you as a leader. And so because of that, people create mystique. This is what artists used to use almost too much to keep an audience together. But yeah, that's used in occasions. Then you have what's called promise transformation. This is your, hey, here's the before picture of me. Here's the after Ozempic. It's the before and after, basically. That's studied by Carl Jung. Then you have the use of sacrifice and loyalty tests. So this is like mafia type stuff where they might, or like gang stuff where they tell the young, the YN to go out there, commit a crime to prove their loyalty to the gang. This is used for negative and positive. Okay, so that's why I said you guys got to be really careful with these principles. But that was studied by Leon Festinger. And then we have lastly, creating a shared enemy within. So Sigmund Freud says humans desire to purify and protect the group. Some leaders use scapegoats or enemies within to allow their tribe to purify the group and feel significant. So you could see that as a good, if you're a church member, you're like, this person's just being, they're saying they don't love Jesus or Jesus is fake or whatever, and then they kick them out the church. That's one way to look at it. But you could also look at the complete other side, which is isn't this what Nazis did? Isn't this what Hitler did? Create a shared enemy within. They're like, we have these people in our country. We need to remove them to purify our group. Okay, so leaders do this to stay in power. It's both a positive and a negative. I'm running out of throat energy, pause. So I will have to end it here, but hopefully you guys learned something. And wow, man, so much to teach. This book it really covers a lot. So just go to busyworksbeats.com/book, because this book covers even conflict resolution, like what is conflict, how to resolve it. There's so many important things about here. This will help you guys build up your social skill. I also have another book called Busy Signal, which teaches you guys the online business part of this. And then I have another book that I produce called The Producer Bible, which is about the mindset. These 3 books combined will give you those skills you guys need to better mesh and gain and create opportunity, not just wait for opportunity, but create opportunity for you in the music business. There's a lot more I want to teach today, but for time's sake, we're going to cut it here. To the 43 people who are still here, wishing you guys power and success. And Tyrone Sellers, thank you for your support. I do appreciate that. All right, guys, peace out. And I'm trying to think, is there anything else to tell you? March 15th, I want to say at 12 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to have our big beat battle. All you got to do to join is just hop in our Discord. It's discord.gg/busyworksbeats. Thank you to TaylorMade Unlimited. It was in here. Mateo, what's up, from Texas. John Green says, thanks, been trying Saturn 2 and EQ, taking off high frequencies, but it still sounds some weird. Yeah, I don't like Saturn 2 as much as I used to. I kind of strayed away from that. I use Gold Clip now for most saturation. All right. Naramon is here. Kasova. Brian was here. What's the best way to get your beats out there? Yeah, you want to rewind this live. Erland was here. What's up? How does the beat battle work? Hopefully I explained that. Basically, we're going to have 10 contestants, and it's going to be, each round is going to be best of 3 beats. So I think we're going to have like three, I don't even know what you call them. Not rounds, but like 3 battles within a battle of 3 beats each. So you're going to need at least 10 beats, 12 beats to join the battle to make it all the way to the end. All right. So I feel like a lot of YouTubers giving unnecessary hate. Maybe it is necessary. Cyrus here. What up? Solomon was here. Prom was here. Chief was here. Baby Smoke. Sahil. Crispy, thank you for hopping in earlier. I am FON. Tyrone Sellers, thank you. Michael Vavrika. Zaki Beats is here. Jay Lambo, what up? Samantha was in here. Platinum was in here. We got Legends in here. Do you have a playlist? Person in chat was up in here. We had Pungent Beats. Dan Trail, person in chat. CG Beats was in here at one point. Thank you. Who else was up in this place? Ghost was in here. DT was in here. Treble was in here. Legends. I already said Legends. Gatito was in here. What up? South Easy Beats. Falcon was in here. Domini was in here. Samit was in here. Yecker, if I'm saying that right, was up in her. We had Yo-Yo in here. We had DJ Sunnyside up. And then we had DJ BRK, Sergio, and Ravikaran, if I'm saying that right. Kobo was in here too. All right, y'all. Unless you have a last minute question, I'm going to head up out of here. Quick question. What does that blue knob on the Gold Clip do? You know what? Transformers usually add a very subtle amount of saturation, but it's almost inaudible to the point where you can't hear it. It's like first and second order harmonics, but it's so soft that you can't really tell. One day I'll have to do like a sine wave. What you could do is open up Fruity. Let's just do a test real quick. Why am I sitting here explaining this? Let's do a live experiment real quick. All right, so let's load up what's called the Wave Candy plugin. Whoops. Okay, so Wave Candy will let us see the waveform, the frequencies of the waveform, I should say. And we could see stuff. All right, let's make this a little bit darker. So we're going to end this with an experiment here. All right, so now we need a sine wave to run it through Gold Clip. So let's open up 3x OSC, turn off oscillators 2 and 3. We don't want any distortions. We just want a clean sine wave. One thing I forgot to do was on Wave Candy, we want to turn on the, I believe it's the resolution, and we want the scale just a little bit deeper so we can see the lower frequencies like this. Okay, so now we have simple sine wave. Let me hear this. What up, Dre? Drum Flexes, what up? Jada Rude. My bad, y'all. We're doing like a last minute little experiment for Jada Rude's question. Okay, so we should be able to hear a tone. Okay, so what I'll do to not make us go crazy is I'll mute the tone. But what we're doing is listening through our sine wave through Wave Candy. So on the left side, we should see, let me make this a long note so that it doesn't keep repeating. So on the left side, we should see a horizontal line that represents one frequency. That's called the fundamental frequency. Let's make this a super long note like that. And now we're going to load up Gold Clip before the Wave Candy so we can see what this actually does to the actual signal. Okay, so what professionals do is they do what's called a sine sweep. We're not going to do a sine sweep. We're just going to do a regular sine wave for now. And then we're going to see what this alchemy knob does. Okay, so let's pull this over here. So now my sine wave should be horizontal, but even without doing anything on Gold Clip, it adds harmonics. So what are harmonics? If I turn off Gold Clip, you see guys, this horizontal line, it's one frequency. This is called a fundamental frequency. Harmonics are multiples of the fundamental frequency. So when I say the second harmonic, I really mean 2 times whatever the fundamental frequency is. So in this case, the fundamental frequency is, looks about 132 hertz. Okay, so if I add the second harmonic, that's 2 times 132, which would be 264. So if I add Gold Clip and I see these other lines, I'm adding frequencies. So here we have a frequency of 264, which shows me that's the second harmonic by default without doing anything to it. And then we have kind of, what would that be? Let me see. This math is kind of weird. So we have 130. I'm just going to round it out. 130 up to about 260. So 130 times 3 would be 390, which is exactly where this is. So that's the third harmonic. And then times 4. Don't get me to going up to 4. Let me just calculate this. Why am I sitting here guessing? 130 times 4. Whoops, 4. So we should see 520 hertz at this next area, which we do, 520. Okay, so this is just going up to the second harmonic, the third harmonic, the fourth harmonic. It looks like the fifth harmonic by default is what Gold Clip does. It already adds saturation without doing anything to the interface. Now let's see what happens if we add this alchemy knob here. If we get any more or less harmonics. Now you can't see it because it's so subtle, but it looks like it adds a little more density, if I had to guess, to these harmonics, but it's hard to tell because it's so faint. So what I'll do is I'll crank up what's called the saturation. Now, as I saturate the sound, we should get more harmonic content, which is what we see. Also, there's something on here to where, okay, so you guys can't see it. Let me change the scale. Scale's a little, okay. So some harmonics are so high frequency that you can't hear it. So there's a blue texture. I don't know if you guys can see this, but as I turn the saturation knob up, actually that's just by default. Okay, so we have frequencies all the way from 10K all the way up just by default without doing anything to the plugin. So let's add saturation. We get a little more of that fifth harmonic, and then we get a little more texture in these higher frequencies. It's just more noisy up top, basically, for this tone. And then if we add the alchemy, I'm looking for like a dramatic change in the audio. It's so hard to see, but there's like a very, very, very faint like texture from about 700 up to about 2500. It's so faint, I can barely see it. So yeah, the transformer's not really doing anything visually. I'm not seeing or hearing what that even does. Maybe it happens when we clip. So let's actually purposely clip this. Okay, so now I see more of what that. Okay, so you guys may or may not be able to see it. It's pretty faint. Let me crank the input higher. Let's make this really aggressive here. Okay, so now we should see a ton of harmonics, which are those horizontal lines, okay? So now I'm pushing the signal to where it's just like clipping, and clipping is really just a bunch of frequency content. Now, if I turn the alchemy knob on, I can visually see a difference between when I have it on and off. You guys might not be able to see the exact change, but I could visually see there's a more faintness about it when I turn the alchemy knob on. So maybe it just dims some of those harmonics from about 10 to 20K. Now, if I pull back the input, so we're not super clipping, it adds, oh, let me see here. It adds a little more density from about 2K up to about 6K. So I can visually see there's harmonics being added there. So transformer, the alchemy knob, it basically just adds a different set of harmonics. That's what it does. Okay, so I can visually see there's a difference in that waveform, the harmonics. I know this is so geeky to end this live stream with, but okay, so you guys should be able to view, like if you zoom in, you should be able to see that. So that's what that does. So it does do something. It doesn't do nothing, but it's so faint you probably wouldn't hear it. All right, y'all. So you said, what do you run in Docker? How do you know about Docker? What you know about Docker? I was running, what's that thing called? UI Fun or something like that. Wait, hold on. I lost the internet somehow. Hold up. Y'all said a keyword and triggered chat shut down. Hold on. Yeah, I forget what it's called. It's called like, it gives an interface for LLMs that you've installed locally. I just forget what it's called. Joe knows about all the goated apps. Shout out to you. Dre, peace out, man. So yeah, that was when I was studying AI. I was using Docker. I'm not like a pro with it. I just was trying to use DeepSeek on my computer just to see what it was. I deleted it, but I was trying to use it back then. I realized I need like 1,000 gigabytes to even use DeepSeek. And I was like, never mind. Because I had the diluted model. I didn't have the full one. And it ate up so much space. But yeah, I do want to install more stuff locally though. I want to install the new Manus. If I could figure out how to get Manus, oh, it's a wrap. That Manus AI. Let me show y'all real quick. This is I need to get off here and get back to work here. But it's my duty to keep you guys updated with like where this industry is headed. So let's go here. So there's a video right now. Make sure it doesn't have any audio. Hold on, I can't even hear myself. Give me a sec. These headphones are so big. Okay, so there's a video right now where, okay, it's this noise basically. So there's an AI that can run, let me just read it. It runs 50 social media accounts simultaneously, 24/7 automatically, and it acts like a human on virtual mobile phones. And an AI controls everything about this, every action, every thought, every processing, every intent. This is the video that blew up around the world. And this is built off of what's called Manus AI. They don't have access to it publicly yet, but this is the next AI to beat what's called DeepSeek. And to give you guys context on what DeepSeek is, DeepSeek was so threatening. You just got scammed with a fake drum kit. That's wild, Rift. That's actually wild. But DeepSeek was so threatening to the American economy that it tanked the stocks. Like it tanked all the AI tech stocks. That's how it was like $15 trillion or something crazy. Some crazy amount of money that the US stock market lost just because of one Chinese company came out with one AI. Like a lot of money went missing. I forget how much. But yeah, DeepSeek used to be the old game in town. Now it's Manus. It can also build a WordPress page, but they don't show the WordPress page. I don't even know what this is, but it does that. Basically, it could do anything a human could do times 1,000. Except, I don't know about making beats, but I'm sure it could even control a mouse to make a beat if it figured out all the motions on how to do it. 2-month family trip. Okay, does tech stock analysis. Manus AI research coded, validated, and published in 47 minutes. It wrote a bio. Okay, that's boring. Podcast editing. It can also produce audio. It's not the greatest audio, but it can produce audio. It can edit podcast. It can outperform OpenAI's deep research. So just look it up. It's called Manus AI, and the whole AI world is going crazy over it. So when that becomes public, this will be what I told you guys in 2025. It's going to be focused on agentic AI. Agentic AI means instead of Chat GPT where you ask it questions, agentic AI will be where you tell it to do something and then we'll go in the world and actually do it. It's not like Chat GPT where it's like, hey, Chat GPT, make me a beat. And it's like, step 1, load up FL Studio. Step 2, grab drum sounds. Like when you tell Manus AI, go make a beat, it will go out, find all the things for itself, download the stuff, open up FL Studio, make the beat for you. I'm just saying make a beat, but it will do the thing for you. You don't have to actually go do anything. That's true agentic power, in my opinion. And that's what I'm excited about, because if I figure out how to get an AI to do customer support, I can scale the company to places I've never thought before. And even in advertising, it could handle all the nuances of advertising, like iterations and variations. So it handles all the stuff that we don't even want to waste our brain cycles on. That's the fun part. Will it take our jobs? No. DeepSeek, as far as music, no. DeepSeek almost shut the stock market down. Yeah, you saw that, right? Let me find the numbers because it's worth showing you guys. I'll do another live stream where I cover a lot of this stuff. DeepSeek tank stock market, how much? After this, it says, I assume you're asking about the impact of DeepSeek on the stock market. I just need a number, Grok. You're talking too much. Okay, it says Broadcom dropped 17%, losing 195 billion in market value. Google even dropped Alphabet, Google's parent, dropped 99 billion in market value. Microsoft dropped 71 billion. Oracle dropped 71 billion. Collectively, the sell-off has erased over $1 trillion in market value on one day, January 27th, 2025. Okay, so total impact was 1.5 trillion for one day. Okay, just to give you guys a concept of like what trillion means, the US market is worth 60 trillion, I think. Okay, so when you lose 1/60th of your company in a day, that's kind of a lot. Okay, so basically total damage 2.3 trillion is what it's saying here, which is a lot. And it made people question NVIDIA big time. And even OpenAI, they're like, wait, OpenAI, you're charging us all this money saying that you have to spend so much money to produce an outcome. Meanwhile, this Chinese company did it for like 1/100th of your price, 1,000th of your price. So why are we paying you that much? Type of thing. Thank you about the hat. I bought this at a festival. All right, y'all, I think we're out of here. That's all I had to say. Just come hop in our Discord for the beat battle. We're going to do that the 15th of March, which is Saturday. So all you got to do is just join the Discord. Now I'll keep you guys updated there. Stocks used to be backed by fundamentals. Now they're all meme coins. True. It's all speculation for the most part. It kind of just proved further that we are in a huge bubble, if anything. I agree, because I'm like, first of all, once you realize, okay, you keep pulling me in with the conversation. But basically, yeah, I realized there's a difference between Meta, NVIDIA, Google, and Amazon, because those are cash cow businesses, versus like a Tesla, speculative, versus, currently speculative, versus like Oracle. You start to realize like the Palantir, another speculative stock. Like you start to realize the ones that are like value-based and the ones that are speculative. Shy11 says, yo, how do I become a great producer? Go to busyworksbeats.com/producer path. I actually created a whole map for you on how to do that. Joe is here, says they also sort of fibbed about how much it cost to make DeepSeek. I heard that too. Way cheaper to train, but took hundreds of millions in smuggled hardware. That part. So I'm gonna have to do a different deep dive a different day. Right now, I'm gonna end this here because I'm a little exhausted. But wishing you guys peace.